Yo? Damn, y'all already popping off here? Ever since I showed it off like months ago now on stream, but ever since I did, my little angel dust standee has just been fucking sitting there, like right off to the side here. Hello, you don't what? Dog wants attention now. How are we doing today, chat? Hey, awesome Stella. Anyways, any hoosers, hi. Thank you, the Raider. Great Briana Wu essay earlier. I appreciate it. The fuck is this coming? What? I just took you out. Do you want food? Do you want banana? You cannot have banana. You don't get banana. No, you do not get banana. All right, I'm gonna give lady some food real quick. Here. That's all you get until dinner. Enjoy it. She wants the long lemon. Dog has fucking opinions. A Geoduck Geoscience, hope you're doing well. Really like your Briana Wu video. Felt uncomfortable you showed her dead name on screen a few times. I debated that because I did redact a bunch of other stuff. But I left it in because it is the part where I am corroborating her identity. And she has been open about being that person. So I wanted to keep it in there. I don't get me wrong, I debated this. And that's not to say that I think it's okay to dead name her. I mean, maybe I fucked up. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I feel it was for documentary and posterity's sake, I think it was important, and that information is already out there. It is not like it is, forbidden arcane knowledge. And I did not know. People saying, did I say the name? No, I did not. I was incredibly careful. I even read, and granted, like this doesn't assuage the fact that I did post her dead name. But I even changed the gender on some of the like stories and forum posts that were about her. I did my best to still be respectful to Briana Wu, which is not easy. Lady Domina, you haven't been following? Steph is pretty. Thank you for 10 months of Prime. Hey, Juno, dear. Sorry, everybody. I was going to start earlier, but I went down to my bodega. And I was feeling snacky, so I got some delicious trail mix and a banana. What's goodness gracious, Juno, dear? Psycho Salad, $1.99, Sam Seder in the title, what happened with him? Sam Seder had a word on the street. Streets are saying Sam Seder had a little talk with Ethan Klein. And normally I don't really care generally about the Ethan Klein thing. But Juno, dear, I know what I did. What did I do? My alter ego on YouTube. Oh, the Raider. Oh, yeah, I know you, Lady Domina. Am I going to do a deep dive on Blair White? Maybe. I'm really selective. Like, okay, here's the thing. I've had the people I've done deep dives on have been a very eclectic group, to say the least. Like there's not a lot of like in broad terms, I would consider them like my enemies, my opponents, my ops. But like Matt Walsh, Synthetic Man, and Briana Wu don't have a lot in fucking common. The one thing they do have in common, and the thing I think kind of necessitates me talking about somebody in that context, doing a deep dive, is how much of a, like, I think there needs to be an element of people not knowing how terrible they are. And with Blair White, I don't think that's the case. Like when I first did the Matt Walsh video, and this was before he's become much more bold about how fucking racist, openly racist he wants to be. But like people were asking me like, hey, you should do a Tucker Carlson video. And I was like, like there's a lot out there on Tucker. Everybody knows about Tucker. Ophelia, I've seen the weird take that part of your video is there to shame trans women. Whoa. There to shame trans women who decide to go stealth, and I'm like, that's a wild thing to get out their entire video. Yeah, I saw somebody who was... Okay, I saw somebody who was... they were calling out the fact that I open with Venus Extravaganza and then call out Briana Wu for going stealth. Which, here's the thing. I don't actually think Briana went stealth necessarily. Like, if I'm being honest. Briana has... I don't... Look, there are certain things that when you look at somebody for so long... I'm going to be in and out of Loix and following a Street Fighter tournament, but hope you enjoy your snacks. I'll enjoy your snacks. Shut up, Juno. Oh, thank you very much, Crash. Matthew, well, so that's the other half of it, is that, like, I want to cover people that, and you can see the sun's coming through in the window. I want to cover people that don't have deep dives already. And, like, there's a some more news video. Like if y'all, I see multiple people talking about, like a Tim Pool deep dive. There's just some more news video. That's what you're looking for. Like, exactly. It's well researched. It's funny. It's basically what I would do. And so, like, that is the, like, I don't need to do that again. And that's another aspect of it, is that, like, okay, if this information is already out there, what else am I bringing to it? And I was able to God, how many people did I talk to for the Briana piece? I talked to at least 2 people who did not go on the record, so I did not get to use them as sources, which sucks because... How do I say this without giving away who it was? If I had... If I had the one of the sources talk on it, it would have been seismic. Like, it would have been fucking seismic. But I did have people have already known. I spoke to Keffels about her time working with Briana. I spoke to other people who worked under Briana at Progressive Victory, other people who worked with Briana at... or just like kind of in Washington, D.C. circles. I spoke to several people who just kind of interacted with Briana and had really bad things to say. Oh, thank you. Faxius found you because of the surfs. Watch the Briana Wu vid. I'm hooked. You give info so elegantly and thoroughly. It's wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Didn't even wear a suit to the White House. So many of your vids on a playlist that I have to get through. Aw, I appreciate that. We exposed him for dating a black woman. This face when I mentioned it. Who are we talking about? Yeah, I am. Are you talking about me? Like, yeah, I am dating a black woman, but what is your... Oh? Oh, synths. Okay, yeah. God, well, I don't even remember the details anymore. So here's the fun part about all this is that now after learning and holding so much in my head on Briana, it's gonna get fucking thrown out in airlock for whatever projects I take on next. Cause like you saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, Synth did say that, didn't he? But if I'm remembering correctly, from the video I fucking made and spent like 2 months researching, less than a year ago, if I'm remembering correctly, I think that was in high school when Synth talked about dating a black person, dating a black woman, which is like, I don't know. That's like, I mean, look, if you're dating somebody, you're dating somebody, but like, high school dating isn't dating. Come on. I'm just being real. High school dating, not dating. Come on. Tara Billie Jean just finishing the Woo vid. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm gonna sit in here for a little bit longer. I want to finish my banana before we start on the same Seder thing. Yeah, no, God, it's been. I do believe it common on the far right. I think. So I think it's two things. There is a fetishization of like the the quote unquote the forbidden fruit or whatever, which is so it's so dumb. Like of course it's racist, but like you see a lot of it with AOC. And like the weird way that she'll be depicted in like memes and political cartoons is having like a fat Latina ass and shit. And it's just like, just admit you like Latinas, bro. Like it's so fucking weird. Yeah, it's just dumb. How much of a Karen would Briana Wu be with minimum wage workers? She would say that, oh, we need to, defend America's working class, and the Democratic Party would they need to talk about working class struggles and stop being such elitists. But I'm almost also positive she would not like actually care that much. Like I'm pretty positive she would like argue against, like if it came down to a vote, I guarantee she would vote against like a minimum wage increase. Ooh, axolotls. Hell yeah, I feel ya. Gowdy? Like Trey Gowdy? Oh. Yeah, Bruce Madison. Gowdy is a very different thing to me. Trey Gowdy, Trey Howdy. Oh yeah, I have the Sam versus Ethan thing pulled up. What, you have never had a banana in your life, little pup. What the fuck do you think a banana is? No, you don't get banana. What the fuck? Star. All right, I'll be right back. Yes, I do. You fucking goofus. You little goofus dog. Oh. Love ladies' background noises. I'm fucking glad somebody does. PsychoSound665, thank you for 499. Wasn't there some meme a few years ago about Ben Shapiro obsessing over AOC's feet? Not to my knowledge. The fuck? My bird did this in my scrambled eggs the other day. I was like, bro, do you know what that is? 'Cause, 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 Oh my god, that sounds like the life. Zenagrells, what happened with Sand? I've been hermit mode, playing games and with my dog. I wish I could go hermit mode. I need. By the way, if y'all would like to throw any donations, anything my way, this is the last day for my YouTube revenue, so it would be super chill, super rad, and super helpful. And no pressure, of course, if not. But these next couple months are going to be... I think the Briana video will be a good kickoff to starting to raise my revenue again. I'm going to start doing more stream highlight videos. I've kind of let those mellow. Just because I've been trying to focus on other shit. But I'm going to go back. I'm going to put out the Vivian, the interview I did with Vivian Wilson. On the subreddit, Toilet Paper USA. Ugh. What games am I playing at the moment? Theo Turgers, there are so many fucking games. Geoduck, Geoscience, what's happening here? Oh, like my YouTube revenue is like fine, but this last month. So one of the things I was talking about with the Briana Wu piece, and this is kind of an addendum on that. But one of the things I was talking about was there was one person I got in contact with. I talked with them. I really, really wanted to have them, but whatever. Didn't work out. They didn't end up, they kind of ghosted me. And as a result, because they were such a big, like, name and presence, I put the Briana Wu piece on hold for like 2 weeks for them, which kind of affected my outcome for the month. Yeah. No, I haven't played. Yeah, no, and Awesome Cell. I know it's also a like a yearly thing, and I think a lot of people, especially in political spaces, a lot of people this year just came into the year really low energy. I know I fucking did. No, but for games I've been playing real quick. I've been playing Expedition 33. I just started it. I played like the intro. I'm intrigued. I want to play more. I fucking want to smack the shit out of anybody who, like, months and months ago, I was like, oh, this game looks like Persona. And people were like, it doesn't look like Persona. And I'm like, fucking dog. In terms of gameplay, you're going to tell me this isn't a action JRPG like Persona. Get the fuck out. Theo, it's a 60-hour game. Hey, 60 hours, that's fucking better than... Yeah, let me turn myself up a little bit. I turned myself down for a podcast earlier. Okay, I think that might be better. Yeah, I kind of should play it in French, huh? I might do that. I did that with Remember Me, the Capcom, Don't Nod Capcom game that nobody remembers. That game is improved by being in French. But no, I've been playing Remember Me, been playing Oblivion. I need to get back to shit because I was looking at stuff. I'm like, damn, there's games that came out this year. I want to finish Promise Mascot Agency. I was really loving that. I want to go back and finish Sorry We're Closed. I think that's fucking phenomenal. Avowed, I want to go. I was having fun with, and like playing Oblivion has me in a weird spot where I'm like, I should go back and finish Avowed, but then also I'm like, oh, puppy, oh baby, I just rolled over her paw. Come here, baby, come here. Oh my baby, oh my baby. Yes, you poor baby, you poor puppy. You poor baby. You poor baby. Yes. Yes. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you fine? Are you fine? Are you fine? Are you fine? Are you just a big baby? Are you just a... Did you do that for attentions? Did you do that for attentions? You should... I wish I could show her right now, because she is... Like, she's up against me and wagging her tail like, pets, please? Pets? Fat nuggets. Are you fine? That's what you get. Don't put your paw right under the fucking wheel, ding dong. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Do you want to say hi to the people on stream? Do you want to sniff into the mic? You were such a goof. You were such a goof. See, now she always gets like a burst of energy after that. Graded card. This is my Edgar Markov serialized card that I need to sell. Hey, if you want to buy a fucking serialized Edgar Markov, I got you. I got you. What the fuck was I saying? Oblivion. No, yeah, I've been playing Oblivion. You did that specific voice for your pet in the make some noise prompt. That's how I talk to my baby all the time. I need to finish Death Stranding. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine, you big baby. She's trying to play with her cat. What? What? For what? For why? Hey, yeah. Bring me your toy. Bring me your ball. Bring me whatever you want. Bring ball. Bring ball. 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 Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Stop it. Stop it. Wuthering Waves. Dr. Lupo. Now my dog wants to play. I am sorry. What sort of breed is my dog? She is a pit lab mutt thing. She's a good baby is what she is. But she has fucking... If y'all couldn't tell, she has an attitude to fucking spare. She just be saying shit. She just be talking. But no, I haven't even had time to... I want to go back and finish Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I want to go back and finish Avowed, like I said. I haven't even started South of Midnight. Oh, there was another one. Blueprints is another one that I know people have been fucking talking about. Super Platanaman. Thank you for $5. Great video on Briana Wu. Good timing, too. She's getting crapper Palestinian dog comment. The fucking... Oh, the dog comment. The Palestinian dog thing is so fucking dumb. One of the great things I hope... Well, it's presumptuous of me to say one of the great things about the video, but one of the things I really hope to achieve is that by showing how she embellishes shit, and most importantly, I think for Briana, like it's such a small part of her story, but it's so nefarious how she just makes shit up that can't be verified or proven all the fucking time, much like the Palestinian dog story. Now, for example, when you look at her timeline right now, she has her fucking camera phone on her all the time. She's been taking TikToks and videos of her time in Israel constantly. You mean to tell me that the one time she apparently saw Palestinians in Jerusalem was when they were torturing a small animal, and she just happened to not catch it on video, and nobody else happened to be around to verify this? See, this is part of why I wanted to make the entire video, is that, like, I want it to be so clear that unless there is verifiable evidence, she says, like she shows that something happens, I want, anytime she says something, people to think of my video and go like, that shit didn't happen. Look at all these other fucking times in the past. That shit didn't happen. Okay. I saw my dog to the right, and I'm like, I cannot roll you over again. I'll feel so bad. She's laying. She's just a little loaf. She's a little potato. Do I got any transition tips? Learn makeup. I say as somebody not wearing makeup currently. Patrick, gonna go watch Revenge of the Sith. Have a good stream. You have a good time at the theater. I saw it, and I might go see it again in theaters, honestly. And don't forget to go and watch and download my film cut of the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series, that I made into a movie, so you don't have to watch the whole series, but you can get all the good stuff. Yeah, Kiwi TP, it's the 20th anniversary. Oh my gosh, holy shit, it's been 15 months. Thank you for resubbing, Kiwi TP. George the Gunwalker makes interesting clips of Synthetic Man, and his newer vid synth opens up more about his high school experience. I'm good. Like, I don't want to really talk about synth anymore. You did what? Where the fuck do I find it? Yeah. Oh yeah, somebody's saying Blueprints. So is Blueprints kind of like, what percentage of like I didn't care for The Witness, for example. Like I don't dislike that kind of like puzzly first person game, but it does very little for me. So like, what happened with my goat Sam Seder? It's way better than The Witness. Okay. So Sam Seder, it's a roguelike. Hey yo. Yeah, it's been 25 years since Phantom Menace came out. Awesome Stella, you said roguelike house builder, and that doesn't... What? Do you think Briana Wu and George Santos are friends? I think they would be if George Santos wasn't too busy being the looker. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I wonder if... What was... There was a parody game that was put out as promo material before Bulletstorm came out. No, it wasn't Hour of Duty. Was it Hour of Duty? Medal of Duty? Because it was in the highlight, like the peak Call of Duty years, and Bulletstorm's whole thing was like kill with skill is what Bulletstorm's whole thing was. Man, Call of Duty, what the fuck was that called? I wonder if that holds up at all. It was like 10 minutes long, but I remember thinking it was fucking hysterical in high school. So I'm gonna go on a limb. Probably doesn't hold up. Duty Calls, that's what it was. Yep. What the fuck was I doing? I was looking up. Oh yeah. Where you can, if you go to my Twitter or my Blue Sky, I posted a link to my copy of the Kenobi cut, the film cut, and you can just download it. Disney hasn't taken it down, so if you want the 2.5 hour film version of the Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi series, where I redubbed a lot of the fight scenes to add prequel and original trilogy lightsaber effects and prequel music because they're fucking better. Yeah. Dr. Frost first, thank you for $2. Congrats on your Briana Wu video. Worth the wait. Thank you. I appreciate it. Swamp Frog person. What? Gross. Sam Seder is a roguelike? Need to finish watching the Briana Wu video. It's a fucking lot. It's a fucking lot. Like, as I'm watching it, I finished editing it. I've been editing it all fucking week, and I pulled like a 10-hour day yesterday. Yeah. Well, check Grape. In the Disney Obi-Wan Kenobi show, the music is not great. Like, if I'm being real, music is like, and so like when, and I guess if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but there are key moments where like there are missing major themes that they did not put in the Disney Plus Kenobi show. Like that just and are replaced with just incredibly generic, not very Star Wars feeling music. Yeah. So I replaced Mid with John Williams. I cooked I cooked with sauce. Like what do you want? No, I didn't use Duel of the Fates. Actually, I used Anakin versus Obi-Wan. I used the episode 3 fighting themes, and also the Michael Giacchino score from the Vader hallway scene. I used at a certain point. I did a lot of stuff. I watched it again. So I went to see Revenge of the Sith with a partner who also likes Star Wars. And I got home and I was like, man, it was like 12 o'clock. And I got home and I was a little bit wired. And I was like, damn, Star Wars. And I was like, I wonder if I... And because I hadn't watched my Obi-Wan Kenobi cut in like 2 years. And so I popped it on and I was just kind of sitting there. And I ended up watching the whole thing because I was like, no, you know, I could have done this better. I could have done this better. But then there was stuff that I was like, you know what? I kind of cooked. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like, okay, that's pretty good. Oh, you did a good job, Jordan. Like, there's points where, like, because what I wanted to, and I have a whole video on this on the channel. If you just look up Dead Domain Kenobi or Dead Domain Star Wars, you can find it. It's just, like some of the things I did, like, redubbing the lightsaber fights to have more kind of weight and impact. Some of the sound effects work was actually really fun. I found like a whole 10,000 fucking audio effects Star Wars sound library. And so like it's a lot of like, oh, here's this cruiser sound, here's this, or like if I dubbed over music to kind of try and like make it flow better together, like finding a sound that kind of fit was really cool. And then like there's little things I did. Like I added a incredibly blood-curdling scream. There's a moment where Darth Vader just kills a random civilian, and I added a like terrifying, gut-wrenching scream to one of the bystanders. Because I think it just kind of it does add, and watching it again, I'm like, gosh, was this too much? Was this too edgy? And then I'm watching it and I'm like, no, this actually it adds a certain something. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi. And I added there's a fucking incredible moment. Like, again, there's a lot I liked about the Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which is why I did this whole thing, because it was so weighed down by a bunch of just fluff and bullshit. But the music was also not nearly as evocative as Star Wars is used to being. So there was a moment where I added the Skywalker theme in a moment between Obi-Wan and Leia. Because Leia never really got, in the trilogy, she never really got like her Skywalker theme moment. And I thought that was bullshit, kind of. And then there was another moment where like Anakin's Dark Deeds, one of the best John Williams tracks from episode 3, is this kind of capstone to the duel between Obi-Wan and Vader. Anyway, whatever. I also, yes, I did see, with the same partner, I actually saw Sinners, and Sinners was good as hell. Oh, I should have fucking... Damn, I didn't put the Wilhelm scream in there. That's my bad. I fucked up. No, I'm waiting until all of Andor is out to watch it, because I did watch the first season. I really liked it, but when it was out, yeah, I did see Companion. Companion was really... I saw Companion in theaters with the same partner. She's kind of my... yeah, the Mandalorian theme fucking whips. Every time I watch it, because I haven't seen the... I don't think I saw the last... What, the 4 seasons? I don't think I've seen the last 2 seasons. But like that... Like that fucking... Good shit. You're gonna get run over again, Ding Dong. She's just sitting here taking pets, but she keeps like... The reason that because this is not the first time I've actually accidentally run over her toes. The reason that she gets snipped, hello, is that she like... I'll give her pets, and then she'll like sidle up more to my chair, like just trying to get closer and closer to me. All right, let's get into this. I don't know if I want to... Yeah, I don't know if I want to... Yeah, I don't want to... I want to pay attention to Expedition 33. I was really enjoying what I was playing of that, but we'll just fuck with Oblivion while we're doing this. Whoa, okay, they've been... God damn, it's 4 hours long. Fuck.
Okay. Okay. So there's another announcement that I want to make that's actually pretty big. You guys may have heard, I think a lot happened yesterday. I don't know if we've talked about that Harley dropped out officially. So Harley dropped out of Creator Clash officially. And again, Hasan, I know you're watching. I think that now your good friend Ian needs you more than ever. And it's time to step in and take that title card, baby.
This is not what podcasts are.
Oh, shut up. I'm trying to help you.
It's horrible.
This guy doesn't know when to shut up.
Horrible.
I was just saying, I prove that Ian chose the right friend. But it gets even worse for Creator Clash, I'm afraid, because today... Do you want me to say it?
You could say it.
This was a tough situation for everybody. And it wasn't something that any of us took lightly, least of all AB and Lena specifically.
Okay, I don't care about
it. Is with great regret
Creator Clash
that we announced that Lena will not be participating in Creator Clash either.
Mr. Beast's new videos.
Yes.
Is this...
First off,
Is this what
the
fucking
retail,
H3
the original retail
is?
price of the ticket?
Is this what H3 fucking does?
And then the black ones are obviously, in their opinion, overpriced. And you can see exactly where it is. You can see the value. If you click it, you can see the view. Click one of those green ones. That's a great seat right there behind the basket. Look at that. You see exactly what it looks like from that seat.
Right. Okay.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
See, that's the reference I was making in the title. Is the classic, the infamous point from fucking what's his nuts? Steven Crowder, where Steven Crowder got ambushed and his dad made him basically get off the podcast because Sam Seder was gonna fucking take him out from 100 paces. Wake up, Ethan. I love that.
How have you been, Sam, since we ruined Steven Crowder's life together? Nice to see you
I've
again.
been
Oh, yeah, I
feeling
forgot they
very
did that
badly for
together.
him
Yes,
over
we're
the
all.
years.
It's a tragic loss of a great career and so much potential.
Yes, it
Thank
is.
you for 100
Hey,
bits.
are we live now?
We are live on the H3 channel. Yes.
I want to just start by sort of apologizing in that I sent you a DM on Twitter 6 months ago or something. I was just going through to find out, and I just realized you're no longer on Twitter.
Yeah.
So that
He
explains
say what,
why I
Dan?
didn't hear back.
He may no. Yeah, I didn't see it. I wish I would have, but honestly, I don't know what to do because like I want to get off Twitter, but also it's kind of a pain because Twitter is the way that like I would reach out and speak to most people. But I also don't want to be on a platform that's like owned and perpetuates basically like Nazi shit. So
Yeah, this was yes,
Ethan, come
I
on.
understand that.
Yeah,
but I just wanted you to know I did reach out, and it was on me not to realize that. I just assumed you didn't want to respond, but
okay, well,
that was on me.
that's nice to know that you reached out. I appreciate that. And the reason, I mean, obviously, people have been pushing for this conversation. I don't know if you know, like, the whole lore of it, the background of it.
I don't. I mean, this is all I know is that Hasan reached out to me sometime. I mean, I got in touch with you October 24th. And I said that I was meaning to reach
Steel
out
Woman,
for a
thank you for
couple of weeks, so
subscribing.
I assume it was sometime in early October. And my thought we were just going to do this off air, but my understanding is that
Damn, the call
you
out
and he were
starting
getting into
early.
it, and you felt like because he wasn't Jewish, he didn't have a perspective on this, and that's why he suggested that you speak to me. I don't speak for all
No.
Jews, just to be clear.
Right.
I speak for only for myself as a in any form.
Well,
whatsoever.
Sam,
So,
allow me to speak for all Jews, if I may, today.
Great.
Please.
Nothing bad
No,
could
well,
happen
actually,
there.
I mean, that's a total mischaracterization, which is kind of my problem with Hasan.
hey, Gunnar Johnson.
Which we can get into if you want. We don't even have to talk about Hasan. But
No.
basically, what I told him was that I was citing polling data that shows that about 70 to 80% of diaspora Jews have some kind of positive feelings towards the state of Israel. And he was disagreeing with me. And I mean, this is available by polls, readily available by Pew Research just last month, showing that. And I don't know if you agree with that or not. I can pull it up, but 72%.
So really quick, because I've seen people talk in the chat about like his kind of like, and I don't want to. Well, I just started doing it, but I don't want to do the. Can you pull up your character window so we can see the build? My build is bullshit, dude. My build is some fucking garbage nonsense. Like look at this fucking. I've been just like jumping everywhere. God, my minor skills are fucking trash. Acrobatics, I'm doing real good. And sneaking, I got 50 snake, but other than that, so I've seen people kind of talk about how Ethan is like, he has like a medical condition, and I don't know, like, does anybody else have the tea on that? Because I don't have a, doesn't he have Tourette's? That might be what it is. Yeah, I just want Frog person. Look, I'm not fucking claiming that my fucking Oblivion build. I'm playing goofy. I like barely spent any time honestly in the character creation because I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna just build what I build. I spent like 3 hours just playing with a bow just so I could get my fucking marksman up, like for no fucking reason. I sold the bow. I don't even have it anymore. Like, I'm not fucking trying to make a great build here.
Percent of diaspora Jews have some type of at least positive feelings about the state of Israel.
Build
I was
different,
stating
build
that fact
stupid,
to
for
him,
sure.
and he was saying that I was wrong. And I said, "Who are you to talk about this?" I did not say that I only listen to Jewish people, which is a little bit of presumptuous and a little
No,
insane.
I don't think that's not
I
what
mean,
I took him
it's
to say.
not
But
not
I,
true.
yeah, I mean, Hasan is that's irrelevant to me.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
yeah.
think that I haven't seen that poll. I've seen ones that have said that they have a connection. They feel a connection, either strong or,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
somewhat.
Yeah.
Which is different than
Elon Musk
positive
type polls.
per se.
So
but regardless, I mean, I
Yeah.
think if I don't know your upbringing at all, but I mean, certainly
No.
my upbringing, my Hebrew education was, I would say, 1/3 Holocaust, and I'm older, and so this was in the 70s, 1/3 into the 80s, 1/3 Holocaust, 1/3 Israel, 1/3 Hebrew, Hebrew and Jewish culture, and I certainly feel a strong connection to Israel, but I wouldn't call it positive these days.
Sure. I guess like, I think what the poll attempts to is basically, if you ask Hasan or a lot of people on the left, I think an emotional attachment is the way to describe this. So it's like if you think
I
it's
certainly have an emotional attachment, and it's not but it's not. I wouldn't describe it as positive.
This isn't the one, is it, Dan? There's the one that shows 73% of diaspora Jews. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Regardless, basically, I want to flesh out my ideas, my thoughts, because I'm being characterized by Hasan and a lot of his cohorts as being, a Zionist, being pro-Israel, being a Israel apologist, being a genocide supporter, being a baby killer, being married to a baby killer, etc., right? My wife is Israeli. I don't know if you know that.
Everybody knows that.
So basically, I would like to just take the opportunity to explain my ideas, what I think about Israel, and you can tell me what you think, because apparently I will only listen to other Jewish people. So finally, I can speak to someone whose opinion matters to me. So thank you, as the official sanctioned Jewish man, Sam Seder, everybody. 100% Ashkenazi. You ever taken one of those?
I haven't, but I'm quite sure I have some Sephardic Jewish ancestry too. So I would mix.
That's good.
Vilnius and Hungary, I think.
Good for you. I think that's always a good thing. My friend, I'm 99.3%. So that's my.
All right,
that's where my authority comes from.
I'll take your word for it.
Are we literally like?
So at any rate,
right now,
let me start here by showing you a little context.
Oh, let me also just say I got about an hour.
Okay,
I gotta
great.
get
Well,
home
I'll just get into it then.
Thank God.
Oh, here it is. Not that it matters, but okay, whatever. So let's start here. Let's start with the little icebreaker here. I know we're both fans of Tim Pool. Okay, let's just enjoy this image together. Tim Pool recently had a wedding, and can you see? Can you see that?
Did he get married?
Well, I think he's attending a wedding.
God,
Okay.
even at
And
a
he's very
fucking wedding,
formally
you can't
dressed,
take off the
except-
fucking beanie, dude.
He appears to be wearing a beanie.
Look,
I would.
if I ever get in any room with Tim Pool, I am mercilessly bothering him about the fucking
So
beanie.
I don't know. I thought this was a fine look for our good friend Tim Pool there. Very good.
Nice suit.
Yeah. So well, let me ask you this: what have you kind of like heard about me? Because I mean, I know that your colleagues have an
I got to
opinion.
be honest with you. I have not heard much. I have, like, the only thing I really saw that came up in any of my mentions on Blue Sky, I'm also on Blue Sky, is just this issue about talking to me, and I had presumed that was it. But I don't, look, from my perspective, I'm not, and I know that there's been,
He's fine as
you mentioned in
wedding
the email that there's been a lot of grief that you have taken, and I know that other people have also taken grief on all sides of this. And the personal aspects of this, and I don't believe that people. I don't actively attempt to deplatform people. I don't think people should do that. I don't think people should be swatted, or tried to be fired, or whatever, or have CPS sicked on them, or any of that. I mean, I just don't think that's appropriate. I mean, I'm more interested in talking about my relationship to Zionism and my perspective on what Israel is doing, and what is happening in Gaza. And
I totally agree. Let's just talk about the facts. Let me start by showing you this clip. So I've been actually talking about my feelings on the Israel-Gaza Palestinian dispute situation for a long time. I lived in Israel for 5 years as well when I was with my wife early on. Here's my position right after October 7th, and you can tell me if you have any. If you have any comments on any of my positions here. But this was posted on. This was from our episode a few days after October 7th. Yeah.
Liars and bad faith weirdos. So here's what I'll say about Israel. Okay, listen. This isn't the first time I've said it, and I'll say it many more times. The cabinet is run by genocidal maniacs, okay? They're led by Netanyahu, who should resign in disgrace and go to prison for being a war criminal, okay? He's made a coalition of the most radically conservative freaks that don't represent, by the way, the majority of Israelis. And they're hell-bent on genocide, frankly, overtly. They've committed tons of war crimes in Gaza, including the killing of children, obviously, because Gaza is one of the most densely populated places in the world. 50% of the residents are under 18, so when you bomb a building, the chances that you're killing children is pretty much 100%. Okay?
Okay, so
It's
what the fuck
barbaric.
happened to this Ethan then?
It's unacceptable. It's disgusting. I've seen videos, I saw videos of Palestinian dads holding his dead 5-year-old daughter. I mean,
I don't need to watch this part because it just gets a little too emotional. But I mean, so that was my take right after October 7th, and obviously that was coming off the end of me being I'm an Israeli citizen. The morning of October 7th, me and my wife were up at 3 a.m. as families were calling into news stations from their safe houses, people being burned alive with their families being murdered while on the phone with news. So coming off of that emotional shock, right, was this was my reaction. Now, I don't know if there's something Zionist or pro-Israel I said there, but maybe I don't understand.
I mean, I might. I think much of what you said was true. I'm not sure, frankly, if what we've seen Israel do in terms of Gaza is not broadly supported in Israel. I'm not seeing the body politic. I mean, I was doing a lot of interviews with Israeli reporters earlier in 2023 about the protests against what Netanyahu was doing with the judiciary. And there was a question as to whether Israelis would see that this autocracy that Netanyahu was attempting to sort of impose on the country wasn't an extension of what was happening in places like the West Bank and in Gaza in some fashion, and more so the West Bank at that time. And so I think it's hard to make an argument. And look, I would make it's not a perfect analogy as to what's happening in this country, but when you talk about the Israeli population not having a problem with what's going on in Gaza, I don't see a lot of evidence of that. There's certainly I would imagine a percentage of Israelis, and I know some of them, who think that Israel should stop its assault there. But I don't think I don't see a lot of evidence that a year and a half later, after you said those things, that this is not the character of the vast majority of Israeli society. I mean, I'm not necessarily convinced that they are as aware. I mean, I've talked to people who have reported in the West Bank, and they said they would go from the West Bank into Israel, and the lack of awareness of what was happening in the West Bank by Israelis was shocking to them. So, I can't say if the Israeli population had a full understanding of what was happening in Gaza, that they wouldn't change their mind. But I don't see a lot of evidence of it.
So as you touched on, this was made basically before the war started. And I think that the unfortunate, really tragic outcome of the war is how much it's jaded and radicalized, I think, people in Israel. It's really, I think people in Israel feel like isolated. They feel like, the sentiment in Israel is basically that the world wants, the country to disappear. And obviously, like, that's a much more nuanced conversation. But the feeling there has definitely radicalized a lot since the war started. It's gotten a lot worse.
And I think, I think that gets to it to some extent. I mean, you
their
have
response
this
is to double
wholesale
down
slaughter.
on genocide and genocide denial.
We killed.
What kind of fucking
in Iraq? Depending on what numbers you want to look at, but I think it's safe to say directly hundreds of thousands of people. But even like the number of children that we killed in Iraq, I think has been surpassed by what's happened in Gaza. And I think one of the things that I find shocking is that the sense and look, I experienced this with family members, where the sense that there's a victimization, for instance, let's say on college campus of Jewish students, and I think that to look at what's going on, the totality of what's going on, and to perceive the victims of what's happening here to be the Israeli citizenry or Jews in this country, I think it just blows my mind. I mean,
two people can care about two things at once. Why should
they
people?
don't. That's the problem.
No, absolutely.
People
I
who
agree,
are uninvolved in the war, if they're being like victimized in a separate situation because of their Jewish identity, that's a problem, don't you think?
Oh, I do, but
you can care about two things. You can't be like, oh, these people are ridiculous for caring about anti-Semitism on college campuses because the war's happening. I mean, both we can care about two things.
100%.
And obviously one is way worse, right? One is way worse.
But that's the point. I mean, one is way worse than what's happening in Gaza.
But who should tolerate being discriminated against based on their identity? You know what I mean? Like,
that's
of course,
not. But it's not based on their identity.
I don't think that people are. I don't think that people are being victimized. I mean, certainly, listen, anti-Semitism is real. It was real when I was a kid. There was many times I had pennies thrown at me growing up and playing basketball. I mean, there was a lot of. I've experienced anti-Semitism.
Pennies is fucking crazy, dude.
Holy put it in the context of like you're a parent, I'm a parent. If my kid is going through something very difficult, it's obviously difficult for me, but it's more difficult for them, and it's a question of prioritizing these things. You can have two thoughts in your head at the same time, but to center oneself. Or to perceive that one's victimization is sufficient to ignore the
I gotta stop you because I don't think I don't know who's doing that.
Well, I mean, I just said like you just presented as the Israeli population feels like they're isolated and this and that.
There's two different separate conversations. There's like the American Jewry who's like, I have nothing to do with that place. And
The
then
word
the
Jewry, the
Israelis,
word
right?
Jewry,
So,
like,
when you're,
fire
when
is
you're talking
in
about
terms of the way that you characterized the Israeli feeling,
yeah.
was that they
such
feel
bizarre
isolated,
neurons
et cetera,
for me.
et cetera.
Like,
And
it puts me in a fight or flight
I can
state. People
understand
saying
that,
Jewry
but
is like, ooh,
to not have the first thought of like, we are committing, like you say, genocidal acts. And if people want to call it genocide, I don't, obviously it's got to be, it's a legal term, but I think that it's, colloquially speaking, at the very least, it is a genocide. And to not recognize that as the fundamental issue, the first issue, I think is blinkered. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it's a little gobsmacking to me.
Well, so I do agree with you that obviously in Israel, people, I think the problem, and just to say on a higher level, I agree with you. Like, obviously the people in Israel compared to like what's on October 7th, they were victims. After everything that's happened, obviously whatever they've suffered pales in comparison to the mass destruction and like wanton death of civilians in Gaza and what's happening in the West Bank too. Lots of awful stuff. That being said, I think the problem with Israel, just to try to explain what's happening there, because I do agree with you,
like,
is just like the media apparatus and the feeling that they have there. It's like there's not a lot of space emotionally, and like even the information that they're consuming, I think that would allow them to have that kind of like self-realization. And like you said, a lot of Israelis don't know what's happening
there
necessarily.
Are some. I mean,
there are some. Yeah, of course, there's some.
We what was it in the fall? You had the publisher of Haaretz, speaking out about what was going on there, and the paper was essentially, a cutout, or there was an attempt by the government to basically shut them down on to some extent. I mean, so.
Well, so what's your explanation why Israelis don't care? It's not that they're evil, right?
Well, I think, look, there's, I'm sure that there is a mass, sort of like a failure to deal with trauma. I think some of it is, frankly, is a racism. And I think, how can you explain, how can I explain how I just watched a clip of people at a Trump rally chanting USA, USA, to watching a video of people being, taken into that prison in El Salvador and having their heads I mean, I don't know how I can explain that. So I don't know how I could explain how the Israelis are able to the extent that they can see what's going on in Gaza, have that reaction. But I know that it's wrong. And I think, some of it undoubtedly is a racism. Some of it is, maybe some type of mass failure to deal with trauma. I mean, I don't know all those things. I think, part of it, I think there's some of the makeup of, immigrants to Israel over the past several decades. I'm sure all of that enters into it, and I'm not in a position to sort of like be able to psychoanalyze it beyond this sort of vague notions.
Sure.
But
yeah, and I
from
agree.
my perspective, it's gobsmacking, and to me, it has shown, and I never identified myself as a Zionist as a kid or through the years, and I never identified myself as an anti-Zionist. I don't think I think it wasn't really until someone heard me articulate my perspective on this that they referred to me as anti-Zionist, and I have, I don't really care one way or another how I'm labeled, but to me it shows a failure of that system of government that Israel has.
Yeah, I'm getting that. I don't know, this whole debate is Ethan going. I agree with you, then not agreeing with him at all.
From a perspective of what I think some people had as a notion of Zionism in the 19th century, it has been a failure in terms of keeping Jews safe, frankly. It seems to me to have been a massive failure. And so I can't operate as someone who lives in Israel, but I can operate as someone who is an American in terms of like what we support, which is why I think we should end all aid. And as a Jew who sees my religion being used as what I perceive as a fig leaf for what Israelis or, Zionists are doing. And so, I mean, that's where I'm coming from with this, that I don't know if there is a psychological state that can justify this. In fact, I don't think there is. And so,
it's just an attempt to understand, not justify, because I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, it is the way that it is, and so that's for a reason, and it's just trying to explain it. That's all. I agree with everything you're saying, but actually, one thing I want to pivot to and ask you about.
Do you think that we should cut all aid to Israel?
I think that'd be justifiable, yeah.
And
we're talking about like military and stuff. Yeah, for sure. Israel.
I mean,
Israel can make their own bombs and shit.
Every
if they need, like, they don't need American military. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I think they do need it to do what they're doing, without a doubt. And
well, what I mean is they're not entitled to it. To say more accurately. Yeah. So yeah, I think military aid should be cut for sure until.
As a Jew, and I mean, obviously you have a different connection to Israel than I do, as through your family and whatnot, and through having lived there. But as a Jew, I take such offense to what is being done ostensibly to protect me and my family and my ancestors and my progeny and all of it. It is, I mean, I think it's, I think the conflation of Zionism and Judaism is both not keeping Jews safe and is wrong at its core. And we can see what it's even doing in the context of this country, the way that it's enabled Trump and to attack universities and to attack law firms and whatever. And so I don't know. And if you agree with that, great. If not, I'm happy to discuss it with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. And part of the reason why, like, this chasm started between me and, Hasan is very influential. So when he decides that somebody is an enemy of the movement for criticizing him, which is what I perceive happened, then it kind of becomes reality. For example, one of my criticisms of his is him not supporting Kamala Harris. Now, would she have stopped the war and been like a perfect dove? I don't know, but I know she would have been better than Trump. I know that for sure. Trump's posting like this insane Riviera, Gaza, the Riviera with Trump hotels. I mean, that's and like he's sending the 20-pound bombs. He's telling Netanyahu, you have a blank check to do whatever you want. Now, like, it
just came out that Biden didn't, did nothing to. I mean, listen, I think.
Well, I'm talking about Kamala.
I suspect that I suspect that she would not have had the same policies as Trump. But at the same time, I think that it was a massive failure, both on a real human level. Like, it would have, I think, had she articulated anything even remotely close to what I would hope her difference would have been, I think it would have probably had implications in the election. But I think perhaps even more importantly, it would have maybe implicated the behavior of Israel. So, I mean, look, I chose to support Harris because I perceived her as the lesser of two evils. But
yeah, me too. And I think that that's an important distinction to make at a time like this. Yeah,
I can certainly understand how some people were just so repulsed by what was happening that it made it almost impossible for them to vote for Harris. I think, I
understand.
Do you, Ethan?
Why they didn't? I totally understand the perspective. Like, I'm so disillusioned with this administration, I can't support Kamala. But at the same time, like, a hugely influential political streamer like Hasan, who has a huge influence on people, I think,
Like,
and
but
who's someone
it's
who
not
was at
Hasan's fucking
who's very
responsibility.
vocal about being pro-Palestine. I feel like it's an abdication of responsibility to be like, I'm not voting for Kamala, or I'm not.
It's not an abdication of responsibility. It just came out that Biden and Kamala, like behind the scenes, weren't actually pushing for a fucking ceasefire. Like they did not actually care. I showed this off in the Briana Wu video where it talks about like one of the major factors for people not voting for Kamala was the genocide in Gaza, was Palestine. Like the idea that Hasan like had this massive responsibility when he was fucking kicked out of the DNC over this shit. Like when the DNC and the Democratic Party establishment did everything in their fucking power to turn a blind eye, like it's not his responsibility to entirely correct the course of the party when they are going in such a massively unpopular fucking like direction. Like, what are you talking about? Ethan, yeah, federal agent. Ethan is trying to make a discussion about genocide into YouTuber drama. Yeah, basically. Like, he does keep talking about, like, Hasan in such a weird way. God, what are you doing, Ethan?
I'm not telling you who I voted for. I suspect he voted for Jill Stein personally, but either way, he hasn't said, and he wouldn't endorse her. Now, like, if you're just like a random protest.
Okay, so he's asserting, but what I'm seeing in the chat is that apparently, and again, I don't watch Hasan, so I don't know, but he's asserting that Hasan voted for Jill Stein, and I'm seeing in the chat that people are talking about Hasan like live streaming him voting for Kamala. He voted for Kamala. And again, I don't know. I'm taking this on faith chat that, yeah, he did vote for Kamala, but like, what the fuck? What? Like, you'd think with as obsessed as he is about Hasan.
Or whatever, and like, you're like, I'm so disgusted, I don't want to vote, that's fine. But if you're like a high level political streamer, and you know, basically you have the capacity to weigh like the lesser of two evils and what that means, I feel like it's an abdication of responsibility to not make that call.
I mean,
love the word
I certainly have been critical of people who, generally don't vote for the lesser of two evils. But I think, and certainly, in the run up to the 2016 election, I certainly that was my perspective. But again, what the Biden administration was doing was so horrific that her inability to signal that there would be any change.
Like a normal parasocial freak. True.
I think sometimes you have to take this at face value, and I think there would be certainly, definitely other things. You would not be assaulting the government like Trump is, but
I just hate
I think
this fucking
probably this is the first election.
We have to this hard. Okay,
as long as I've been doing this, and I think it's been 5.
Like the problem with harm reduction as an idea, and this is something I get into with Rosa. We talked about this on we recorded. Hey, Storm Overcrin, thank you for 11 total months, 2 months in a row. This is something I talked about with Rosa today because we recorded another episode of our podcast. What the fuck now? You can go check it out. We had a really great discussion today on kind of communism and left communism and the disambiguation of Marxism and Marxist ideals in a modern context. But one of the things that we talk about is this kind of the idea of pushing forward a dialectic and progressing history in a way that is, works better for everybody else in the kind of the growing pains that goes through. And this idea of harm reduction, I think, only goes so fucking far because Biden was the harm reduction. Like, Biden was the harm reduction before. And look where it got us. Like, an absolutely feckless, defenseless Democratic Party. That if you want to fucking look at harm reduction, look at fucking Chuck Schumer. Look at Hakeem Jeffries. Look at every fucking Democrat on Capitol Hill who is like I talked about it before, where it's just like, it's just like, hey, here's the line. I talked about it last stream, I think, where I put it like, oh, there's a line in the sand. Trump crosses that line. But the next time we'll really get you. And it's like harm reduction is not the be all end all of what we should aim for. We need to aim higher.
Elections now. I mean, I'm old. That I couldn't really condemn someone from taking that position based upon what we were seeing. I mean, this is.
It's not just some random person. I do, and I'll tell you why. Kamala Harris wanted a ceasefire. She stated that. Trump said finish them. I mean, let's be honest. Like for someone
Biden
like Hasan,
said, I want a ceasefire.
I'm not voting
too,
for Biden. I'm not talking about Biden.
No, I understand, but we found out that Biden, in fact, did nothing to bring that about. So,
well,
like, you know,
you can talk about Biden. I'm talking about Kamala Harris. What she said.
I mean,
well, she's the vice president. I mean, at the end of the day, she doesn't really do that much, right?
No. But I'm talking about the candidate. Biden, as a president, said he wanted a ceasefire. She, as a candidate, said, I want a ceasefire.
Well, do you not? Even if you're like, I don't know how much I trust them. One's like, I want a ceasefire, and the other one is like, finish them.
Well, listen, I think it was certainly obvious to me that Trump was going to be worse. But I think, like, if you're trying to get the candidate to show some indication of this, I can understand that. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I would disagree with it. But
yeah, and I get your point too. Like, ultimately, I understand why people wouldn't want to support them because of what they've seen, and like that, it feels like it also
shows a tremendous amount of just like electoral malfeasance on her part. I mean, they made an active choice. And I think, you could have put that Palestinian lawmaker from Georgia on stage. They made an active choice to signal to whomever they were signaling that they weren't going to do anything. Now, I happen to believe that she would have been better on this than Trump, but they were making an active choice to do that. I mean, it was really electoral malfeasance on her part, in my opinion. But I don't know what the point of litigating this is per se, but
well, we're talking about kind of my criticisms of Hasan and how this well, let me show you this.
I don't really care about.
I know.
Honestly, I'm like
Let me show you this. This is more.
I honestly. Like,
yeah, you don't care. I know.
I don't care. I
Bro,
don't.
it's just like,
and why should you? I don't blame you.
Shit.
We talked about anti-Semitism, and you think that I don't want to put words in your mouth, right? But you seem to have conveyed that.
Thank you, worshiper.
Compared to the destruction and everything happening, the genocide, the loss of life, and.
Okay, great freeze frame. Worshiper of the Olympians, thank you for $20 Canadian. You can only aim higher if you have mutual aid networks that you can fall back on, but we don't have any mutual aid networks. True. Like Sam, him talking about Hasan and Sam being like, I don't care. Like he is Sam. God bless him. He's trying so fucking hard to not just be like, dude, I don't give a fuck about this trauma shit. What the fuck are you doing? And Ethan goes, yeah, I don't blame you. Anyway, and I guarantee what he's about to say is going to wrap back into like Hasan and Hasan's platform. It's
Gaza, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, that obviously that's way more important. So let me show you an example of something. And again, I know you don't care about the drama. To me, this isn't drama. This is one of the biggest, most influential streamers spreading something that I think is really dangerous. And you can agree or disagree, but it's a short clip, but I'll show it to you. And you tell me what you think.
What did I just say?
This will never happen, but in a totally just world, any kind of, regardless of your background, any kind of fucking Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a fucking rabid neo-Nazi. And you shouldn't even let someone be the fucking local dog catcher as Felix was posting if they've ever exhibited any sort of like positive.
Sam Cedar's fucking face, it's not quite in frame here, but Sam Cedar's face is just so, like, again, Sam is able to be like kind of clear and concise and talk about when he's like, I don't care, dude. He has the biggest look of just resigned obligation at this point, of just being like, fuck, what did I get into? Why am I here? And also, like, yeah, what Hasan is saying is very obviously getting at this idea that Sam was just talking about, right? The idea of how dangerous it is to conflate, how anti-Semitic it is, to conflate the ideals and goals of Zionism as a nationalist, as a ethno-state project, to conflate the ideals of Zionism with being Jewish. Which is, again, having not seen this came out today, I'm willing to bet exactly what the fuck Ethan is angling towards with this. Like, Hasan is right. Like, the people who go watch, if you can find the Justin Thoreau documentary, The Settlers. The people who are the most ardent, violent, bloodthirsty supporters of Zionism, that is who he's talking about here. There is no shortage of people who, if you swapped out the words, the ideology they espouse towards Arabs, towards the Arab world, towards Palestinians, towards Gaza, towards Iranians, towards anybody who's not Jewish, is indistinguishable. If you fucking Mad Lib style blanked out the word, Muslim, blanked out the word Jewish, the rhetoric they are espousing towards Gazans and Palestinians is indistinguishable from Nazism. That is the point Hasan is getting at. And like, Hasan has been, I haven't talked a lot about this shit, right? Excuse me, sorry. I get emotional about war and shit. I get emotional about, like, the prison video. Like, the degradation of humanity, it gets to me. It really, really does. And I'm kind of surprised it still gets to me with as much of it as I've seen, as much of it as I've looked at and, studied for videos. But like I talked about when I did the video on former white supremacists, and I ended up seeing, like, I was just doing research and looking for B-roll for background shit, and I ended up seeing like some video of somebody getting decapitated, and it fucked me up for like a day. Like, that shit still messes with me, which is a large part of why I haven't covered the stuff in Gaza. I have stayed up to date with as much as I am emotionally prepared for. But like, Hasan has spoken in depth so much about it in a way that, and also talked to Jewish people about it in a way that I don't think, like, it is irresponsible. Again, what Ethan is angling towards is the thing that Sam spoke against, conflating Zionism and Judaism. Math Magician, thank you for $4.99. Imagine blaming unelected Hasan for 2024 instead of literally President Joe Biden. Yeah, it's like, fucking, what are we doing? Worshipper of Olympians, thank you for another 20. And to aim higher without building up those networks is suicide. So that way we need both harm reduction and building a mutual aid networks. Completely true. Hasan is passionate about Palestine. I think most people should be passionate about Palestine. I'm fucking passionate about Palestine. I just don't have it in me to, give updates and talk about it every stream because it is so fucking draining. Why do so many of the leftists ignore Russia's war on Ukraine? I don't think that's true at all. I think if anything, it is because, like, America's stance, well, not with Trump in office, but America's stance has been open support for the non-aggressor in that fight. The difference between Ukraine and Russia is that or the difference between Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Palestine is, while Israel technically did not start this conflict, like if you want to be a pedant about it, yes, October 7th was not Israel. However, dog, if you are looking at October 7th in a vacuum without taking into account the Nakba, Intifadas, fucking every time Palestinian snipers domed a journalist or an aid worker or a medical worker in a fucking vest, or a child from a mile away. Like, the problem is that in America, or in Palestine and Gaza, American money is backing the aggressor now. That is not to say that Israel was the one to start the incident that sparked the current war. But for all intents and purposes, their response in Gaza, their complete leveling, the humanitarian crisis they've created, has so far surpassed any kind of justifiable, just no war is justifiable, but so far surpassed the idea of being a justifiable response. Yeah, nearly all leftists I know say October 7th was beyond fucked up. Yeah, no, I have yet to find, here's the problem with being a leftist, with being pragmatic about shit, with being, having to look at something in the totality of history. Some might say we exist in the context of all that came before us. Some might say it, wise philosophers even. But you can't look at something like Palestine and Gaza. It's the same thing where I want to eventually go into what's happening with India and Pakistan, because there's a very real chance that those two nuclear armed states are about to reach some kind of boiling point in open conflict in a very fucking scary way. But you can't really examine those struggles without going into the history of them, and those things are so hard to nail down and talk about because they're so nuanced in a lot of ways. Imperial powers create terrorism. Very true. I'm in a lot of communities across the left. I don't run into pro-Hamas people. No, and that's the other side of the coin of conflating Zionism and Judaism, is that it leads to conflating, and this is something you see with Briana Wu and people like her. It leads to conflating pro-Palestine and pro-Hamas, which is so fucking vile. And you are seeing that now being used to justify cracking down on free speech, cracking down on calls for ceasefire, cracking down on unarmed peaceful protest because it's anti-Semitic. And it's it's really not. To look at, like somebody was saying on Instagram, you have war crimes that people are seeing on the daily. You have just insane, and they're estimates still. These are the important part, is that we don't know how many dead are actually in Palestine and Gaza. People are constantly being dug out of rubble. People are constantly going missing. There's a humanitarian aid crisis. They aren't getting the food they need. They aren't getting the medical supplies they need. Disease is currently running rampant. We don't know the full extent of everything that's happening here, and we won't until well after it's all been settled. And so the danger there is, if you say, okay, I want that bad shit to stop fucking happening, then you get called a terrorist sympathizer. Oh, well, you just want the terrorists to win. It's no. I want women and children to not fucking grow up missing 2 limbs. It's so Yeah, Delarka. It's a ratio of 100 dead Palestinians to one Israeli victim historically. That's about what it is. Yeah, and it's like, again, it's another thing of equating Zionism with Judaism, especially when, you have people like Sam. You have so many Jews from across Orthodox faiths, from across reformist faiths, who have spoken up about Israel's genocidal project, who have spoken up against Netanyahu. You saw fucking Ethan doing it, saying he's a war criminal. I don't know why he's like flip-flopping back and forth. But it plays into, and you can see this with like people who flirt with Nazism, people who are open Nazis. You can see how this plays into the narratives of fucking assholes like Nick Fuentes, assholes like Jackson Hinkle, who use these ideas around Judaism and Zionism being the same thing to say, look, see, the Zog, they control this. Or I don't know if they use the word Zog. Zog is a very fucking, that's old school shit. You gotta, as pretty old. But it's like, yeah, it's yeah, Ethan is LARPing as liberal, or Ethan is LARPing as liberal. Hamas wouldn't exist without Israel. It's like, again, one of the big differences between what I think you consider a leftist and a liberal, right, is that most liberals are reflexive. They are people who go through life, don't necessarily pay too much attention to politics, and that's why so many of it, I think their criticisms are surface level, right? When you have like, deport Musk, or, the just very basic orange man bad kind of coexist bumper sticker liberalism, this like, this, no human being is illegal signs on your front lawn. It's like, yeah, but they don't have any knowledge behind like the history of those movements, the history of why those movements exist, why these things happen. They have no analysis of how we get to this point. It is just this kind of like idea of you look at and you examine only what's in front of your fucking face, instead of looking at the totality of history and how we got to this point, right? Like if you were to go to somebody and say, hey, I stole this person's car, right? And you don't examine, well, why did you do that? If there's that's probably a bad example, but like, you don't examine why the things actually happen. You just examine what's happening. And this very short-sightedness is why, like, liberalism leads to conservatism, is because it is not examining. Like liberals can talk as much as they want about, we need to have, it's the same corporate speak bullshit about what's the fucking word looking for? Corporate pride. Like corporate pride, all the companies that came out when Black Lives Matter was popular, is that they weren't fucking doing that when it wasn't popular. Nike and fucking all these other companies, they weren't putting out like, oh, we stand with black people. We do this. Like, no, they were doing it when it popped off because it was the popular thing to do, because it was the thing that was happening right now. And then now that it is no longer the popular thing to do, how many companies do you think are going to really come out for Pride? We got like less than a month. And it's just like, it's very frustrating, because when you try to apply those the analyses of things that actually happened and how they led to the point we're at, then yeah, you do get the idea, like you were talking about, to wrap this all around to what we were just talking about, like the idea that like without the apartheid state of Israel, you wouldn't have Hamas. Like how do you think Hamas radicalized? Because you'll hear about, again, another thing that they talked about in I talked about in the Briana Wu video is that like she talks about how like well Hamas uses small children and this stuff, and it's like, okay, how do you think you radicalize small children when you live in an area that is under constant enforcement, like currently just being bombarded to shit all the time, when you almost certainly have a family member or multiple family members who have been killed despite not being Hamas militants or whatever the fuck? How do you like if you have nothing else to fight for, nothing else to live for or die for, like, yeah, you're going to fucking go to the radical organization that says, hey, at least we can fucking fight back. At least we can fucking kill somebody. Like, that's how radicalization works in those contexts. Yeah. Who? That's actually a good way to put it. The people who don't understand how children are radicalized are the kinds of people who support policies that radicalize children. Yeah. Ben Tramer, Zog is an anti-Semitic conspiracy that the Jews control the West. Yeah. I don't know if it's okay to keep using. I mean, I'm using it in terms of being a conspiracy. Like, I am not using it as a real thing. Mike Cynic, I wish people wouldn't use Zog. Old school neo-Nazis started that term. Yeah, I am using it in the terms of, like, as a conspiracy. The Zog does not exist. But the ideas, what I was saying is that the ideas of conflating Judaism and Zionism helps the dumbass conspiracists like Nick Fuentes to push forward these fucking ideas of like, oh, see how much money America is giving to Israel because Israel controls everything and blah blah blah, and it's all the same. It's all the same shit. Like it does nothing but help awful people on all sides. People don't join terrorist organizations because things are going well for them. Yeah, that's a good way to fucking put it. Like, hey, you ever notice how there's not like terrorist organizations of rich people? You ever notice how, like, every time on news and stuff for pretty much your entire life, all of your goddamn life, you've seen people fighting over in the Middle East. It's been insurgent groups, and they're running around in fucking bum ass Humvees and like broke down ass cars with old Soviet era weaponry. Yeah. Oblivion is BDS. What do you mean BDS? I did not pay for it. I'm playing it on Game Pass. Worship of the Olympians, $5. Wait, Pakistan and India got nukes? They sure do. They sure do. They sure fucking do. Yeah, the stuff with we'll talk about it we'll talk about it another day because it is a project I want to do more research on. I want to make a video out of the stream highlight because I think it is it is a topic that is deserving of more knowledge on my part. And I want to be able to, help guide people and help people understand it better. But it's most of the Jan 6 idiots, petty bourgeois dipshits. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Like, but I wouldn't put, here's the thing, I wouldn't put the petty bourgeois in the same class of, like, rich people. But yes, you are correct. Worship the Olympians, thank you for another $5. Heritage Foundation and the Federal Society are terrorist organizations for Richmond people. Yeah. People, if you have a couple bucks, please go help out Bloom Raider. See if I can. I don't know if I can. Yeah, let's pin Bloom Raider if I can. I don't think I can. Yeah, it's not letting me, unfortunately. But Bloom Raider over on Twitch, please go give a couple dollars to their thing if you can. Anyway, let us continue. I need to go find my nose spray. Doe's Autopsies, thank you for $2. A corporation is a terrorist organization of rich people. I mean, like in a broad sense, yes, they do terror. In a broad sense, like the people who are ruling over us are like but it is in that same, again, this is a kind of leftist analysis where, you know, people kind of scoff if you talk about ideas in terms of like, okay, you know, using this kind of language is enforcing white supremacy. Using this kind of X kind of language is enforcing racist ideas, is enforcing, you know, whatever. People kind of scoff and be like, oh, how is saying this, blah, blah, blah. And that's like a leftist analysis to kind of deconstruct and look at that shit. And in the same way, like, yeah, corporations, through exerting control over everybody's lives, I was talking about this today. It is fucking ironic how, you know, growing up, I was just inundated with the idea that, oh, under communism and socialism under Obama, nobody's going to own anything. They're going to fucking take everything away from you. You won't have your stoves and you won't have your high water pressure. And like we've seen dumb shit like that from Trump. But under capitalism, motherfucker, what do I own? Like, I can't afford a house. And I make above minimum wage. I rent. I can't afford a car. I get most of my media through streaming services or online, like, sharing. Federal agent. I did see that. Sorry, I was in the middle of a rant. I was rambling. Bet you can't stick it. I don't know what that means. Hey, Carmen Phipps. Yeah, Swamp Frog person, we won't own anything under capitalism because the ruling class owns the air I breathe. Now, like, yeah, that is a form of terrorism. But to describe it as such, it is not like the kind of colloquial definition of what people have been, especially in America, brought up to believe terrorism is. Like in America, especially if you were born or you came up around 9/11, to you, terrorism is somebody in a turban. To you, terrorism is, you know, probably somebody who's not in America. Unless, and that's, I should preface this, unless you're from a group that isn't predominantly white. In which case, terrorism probably looks a lot fucking different. Terrorism might look like a white person. Oh, the Halo reference. Oh, it's the Cortana. Yeah, no. Okay, the Halo 2 Cortana E3. Bet you can't stick it. Okay, I gotcha. I knew that from somewhere. I gotcha. No, I know that's from the Halo 2 E3 what was that? 2003 trailer. Fucking I don't know that shit. That's off the dome. Tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm right, chat. All right, let's get back to this.
Positive feelings about the state of Israel. I'm so serious about this.
Now, by the way, he didn't misspeak. He doubled down on it yesterday. He said, no, I agree. That's what I think. Now, just to recap, he says, anyone that's had positive feelings at any point about the state of Israel is a neo-Nazi.
Don't get me wrong. Turbans do have drip.
Not fit to be a dog walker. Now, to me, that seems like extremely dangerous, dehumanizing language about what could arguably be 70% of the Jewish diaspora, and certainly probably people you know in your family.
I'll tell you, there's some hyperbole there, but
That's putting it mildly.
I mean, he says Zionism, and I'll tell you what I think is really.
Sorry, I got to correct you. He says Zionism, and then he says if you had positive feelings about the state of Israel at any point in your life.
I got to tell you, if you look at what's happening right now, and you have positive feelings about Israel,
He said at any point in your life, Sam. Just to be clear about what he said.
Would I have said at any point in his life, someone's life? But I just think this is such a petty, like the idea that we're going to police. Hold on, let me respond. You want me to respond this?
No,
like I say, I don't care about this, but if you're going to force me to respond to it, what Israel is doing right now is so far beyond the idea that someone says any time in your life or not.
Yeah, I want to actually respond to that real quick because I think GGGG had it. I was in 3rd grade when 9/11 happened. I think I was in kindergarten. Yeah, no, I would have been in 1st or 2nd. I would have been in 1st grade. Yeah, 1st grade when 9/11 happened. It took a long time to learn terrorists look like cops, not Sikhs. Yeah. Exactly that. And like people, one of the things I think a lot of leftists, a lot of, people who, again, you look at these material analyses, one of the things that you come to kind of deconstruct is the visual language of how other people are depicted. It's and how that is propaganda, how that is subtle propaganda. And it's stuff like, it's stuff like when people talk about like the Mexico filter. Like if you look at most movies and stuff from the mid-2000s, when somebody goes to Mexico and somebody goes to South America, they put this kind of greasy, high contrast, like Tony Scott-ass filter over it. And it's like that is a form of subtle propaganda. Like it is. Yeah. And like the same thing fucking happens with how people in the Middle East are depicted. How people in the Middle East and to a lesser extent, think places like Eastern Europe. The piss filter. Yeah. Well, the piss filter is kind of a different thing because the piss filter. So when people talk about the Mexico filter, they mean like, there's that like Breaking Bad. I think some of the James Bond movies or Mission Impossible, like kind of globe-trotting movies have done it. The piss filter. Now, the piss filter is a very technically different thing because the piss filter is a term used primarily for video games in the 360 era. And while there is overlap between the kind of racialized way that certain places are depicted or certain like subject matter is depicted, the piss filter, like you look at like Deus Ex Human Revolution, and that's just like it's a stylistic choice, right? Yeah, piss filter is from Deus Ex. I mean, like there were other games that kind of had the piss filter. Probably chief among them being, I think the other one people really talk about is Resident Evil 5, and that's like a whole fucking thing. That's like a whole strange filter of Fallout 3. I'd say Fallout 3 has a kind of green piss filter, like a Monster Energy piss filter. Brown gaming for the modern age. Oh, I love me some brown gaming. Utapau. What about Utapau? Hey, could you not? In Russia or in Eastern Europe, it's blue. Yeah, no, it's fucking super high contrast, super blown out. Dog. All right, fine. We're just gonna press play.
Or whatnot. He's talking about Zionism, and frankly, I think it's very difficult for me to understand how someone could have positive feelings at this time. Now, you want to say in the past and what? Okay.
Yeah.
Like I say, I will grant you at any time in your life that is too broad a step. But wait, let me finish.
Yeah.
But see. You go in and you're making this about anti-Semitism by doing this hopscotch about a poll that people had positive feelings that Jewish people do, and then therefore he is anti-Semitic. And honestly, that type of conflation, I think, is so dangerous and so disingenuous. I mean, I don't want to get too passionate about this, but I will tell you something. I have had a guy who went to my bar mitzvah, my sister's bar mitzvah, my kid's bar mitzvah, sat at Passover with me 3 or 4 times, call my father and ask him if I'm anti-Semitic. Now, this is just one, that is just an example, an illustration of conflating when he's clearly talking about Zionism. Was it hyperbole to say any time in life, whatever? The fact of the matter is this conflation is dangerous for Jews. It is a fig leaf and a way of weaponizing anti-Semitism that has enabled Donald Trump to do the shit he's doing, that has enabled the slaughter of thousands upon thousands of children and women and men, for that matter. It is not keeping Israelis safe.
This is why Sam is the fucking GOAT. This is why Sam is the GOAT. Call him a fucking college boys dorm room bedsheet because he has never been washed. Fucking hell yeah. Sam Seder is activated ultra nightmare mode. Oh my God. Ethan, you don't want the smoke. Holy fuck. That's... God damn. See, this is why Sam can walk into a fucking room full of like 100 conservatives and like they're locked in there with him. Oh, I wouldn't debate Sam Seder on the color of the sky. Christian Garcia. Oh, that was so good. That's good shit. That's good shit.
And this type of conflation, Ethan, is what I find far more irresponsible, frankly, than the idea that he said positive any time. I mean, look, you do a show Sam, 4 hours a day. He does a show 5 or, as far as I could tell, 15 hours a day. And to focus in on that one tiny clause.
This is not one tiny clip, Sam. Well, you don't know. This is a totality of behavior.
But you wanted
and by
to
the
bring
way,
this
it's
up.
easy, and I appreciate that you can hand wave it away and say that it doesn't.
No, I'm not hand waving it away.
Well, you kind of are.
I'm saying this
You're saying
conflation.
It doesn't. You're saying actually I'm wrong for caring about it.
No, yes. In fact, I'm saying this conflation is incredibly dangerous. It is disingenuous.
I think it's dangerous
right now,
to ignore what's being described as dehumanizing violent language for American Jews that have nothing to do with the war.
That is a complete mischaracterization of that.
It's not.
He's
not fit to be a dog walker.
He never says the word Jews.
He says a neo.
Listen.
He never says the word Jews.
Members of Kufi have positive feelings towards Israel.
Let me see.
Wait. How many millions of members of Kufi, the Christian organization, have positive feelings for Jews? It is clearly not a function of their Judaism. It is not a function of their Judaism, and so it is not.
But it describes most Jews.
No.
Yes, it does, Sam.
It describes most Christian evangelicals, too.
It may do them, too, but it also describes 73% of Jews.
That is not anti-Semitism. That is about
I don't know.
What
do you call it when somebody's discriminating against the vast majority of a racial or religious group, Sam?
I'm sorry. You want to look at evangelical Jews?
I don't care about evangelical people.
Okay, but I'm talking about the way you're constructing this.
I think
you can say the same thing about Christian evangelicals too. It is not anti-Semitism. It is not. It just isn't.
Like, taking one example in isolation, which is what we've done here.
Well, you're the one who gave it to me.
Yeah, well,
I don't even want to talk about it.
I disagree with you.
But I'm using your example, and in that instance, that is not anti-Semitism.
Well, I disagree.
Conflation. Okay, well, that's our disagreement.
Yeah.
But I think that conflation is incredibly dangerous.
Well, I disagree as well.
It's dangerous for Jews.
I think
it's dangerous for this society.
I think, frankly, I think it's dangerous to what I perceive as hand waving what is happening here. I know you said you aren't doing that.
I'm not hand waving.
You're doing the opposite. You're endorsing
decades of thought about this.
So right, sure. But the point is, you're saying that this is not dangerous. How dare you care about this? I think it's dangerous
to. I'm not saying that at all.
I personally, I mean, Jewish people have a collective memory of trauma, Sam, and it starts a certain way. And it starts with people. It starts with dehumanizing language, like saying you're not fit to walk a dog. I mean, what are we doing here?
Talking about
it's irresponsible language.
He's not talking about
He's
Jews.
talking about 73% of Jewish
no,
people.
No, you said that.
No, that's a poll that's readily available.
No, you made that connection. He did not. Because we have millions upon millions of members of Kufi. We have millions upon millions in this country of evangelicals who also believe the same thing.
Does your dad
and
have...
You cannot say it's anti-Semitism.
Could you describe
You cannot say it's anti-Semitism if you're also including millions upon millions, far more Christians than Jews.
Would you say that your father, who you mentioned, said something to you, that he's ever in his life had positive feelings about the state of Israel?
I've had positive feelings of Israel.
Well, does your dad have any positive feelings about it now?
I would assume so.
Not in terms of like I support them, but
I've had
I think
positive
Israel...
feelings. I went to Israel on.
Okay, good. Then you're a neo-Nazi, not fit to walk a dog. How do you feel about
that? Oh my God, he's just taking everything so like far out of context. Screwbucket, thank you for 3 months. As a reminder, Ethan got Sam to ambush Crowder because he said he was bad at debate and he willingly walked into this conversation. How did he think this would go any other way? Also, sub just so I could talk without spending channel points, lol. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support. God damn. Yeah, no, he's absolutely right.
No,
like
that's
Sam
you
pointed
saying
it out.
That's
like,
literally what he said. I'll
Christians
play it
are
again.
Far more.
I think like this will never happen, but in a totally just world, any kind of, regardless of your background, any kind of fucking Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a fucking rabid neo-Nazi. And you shouldn't even let someone be the fucking local dog catcher as Felix was posting if they've ever exhibited any sort of like positive feelings about the state of Israel. I'm so serious about this.
Another thing he's doing, by the way, and Hasan does it.
Listen,
he plays around with the term Zionist, right?
You can say that's a wrong thing to say, but he's not talking about Jews. He's talking about people who have exhibited these positive feelings, and that includes millions upon millions of Christians. More Christians.
Okay, well, listen, I don't think they're neo-Nazis, not fit to walk dogs, either. I think it's insane language.
Listen, you don't want to tell me that you have never engaged in hyperbole. You and I both are in this business, and we do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I just think that
God, he gets so fucking defensive too.
Listen, you can say it's an inappropriate thing to say. It's an unfair thing to say.
I just think like Arabs that support Israel aren't fit to walk a dog.
It is not anti-Semitism.
Okay, well,
Arabs that support Israel. What? No, he does. He gets so defensive. Like Sam is trying to come at it. Like Sam is trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Give Ethan the benefit of the doubt to say like, hey, you know what? We've all done. We're in this kind of content game. Like we all say shit that we don't exactly mean or engage in hyperbole sometimes. And like, yeah, that's fucking true. Like I've done that sometimes. But the idea that like he's gonna turn around and then just be like, well, yeah, and then try and engage in hyperbole. And try and be like, oh, yeah, well, that means fucking fuck me, I guess. Any Arab who support... Like, dog. Dude. I just said dog.
We're at an impasse on this one.
My dog went.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean... But anyway, another thing he does is he says Zionist tendencies, and he's someone that plays around with Zionism. He calls me a Zionist, and again, I know we're arguing here about semantics of what Hasan said, but I don't think that you could accurately characterize me as that, as it's used colloquially. You don't know, right? But he's saying Zionist tendencies. What does that mean? What's a Zionist tendency?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're going to talk to him on Friday. You can ask him what a Zionist tendency is. I suppose.
Oh, that's going to be good.
And, like I've looked at polls too where, people have various different my understandings of what Zionism
the
is.
Ethan Hasan thing is I don't like doing drama shit. But as I've continued to vaguely watch from the sidelines on this, while I don't do drama shit, I love a good, well-deserved ass whipping. Unfortunately. Like, this feels a lot like the Kendrick Lamar-Drake beef right now to me. Like, where one side is clearly so outstripped and outmaneuvered by the other that I can't help but just like be, you know what? I'm gonna grab some popcorn for this one. I'm gonna get up in here. Sad boys Adekoy, thank you for following. Tebow Legend, thank you for subscribing. And Tripping Out Stuff, thank you for subbing. Yeah, Coughing Baby versus whomst doesn't love a good Coughing Baby hydrogen bomb. Oh, I wouldn't fuck with Ethan Klein at all.
But I think it is my guess, and I don't know what he was thinking specifically, but the notion of an ethno-state that engages and it allows whatever in the name of Zionism allows for this mass slaughter, I think is horrific.
Sure, me too.
Okay. I mean, then I think we the three of us agree on that regard.
Yeah, I think we're so. Another thing is like to take it even further. I mean, Hasan pretty much like openly supports Hamas.
Let's not talk about Hasan. Let's talk about this.
Sure. I mean, what do you want to ask me?
Well, I mean, if you want to ask me about, I mean,
well, let me.
I'm not here to explore.
Yeah. I have a list of things that.
But if you want to talk about Hamas, I mean, I think. Look.
Well, how do you feel about Hamas?
I feel that Hamas, people can perceive it as a liberation organization. We call them terrorists in this country. We call the ANC terrorists. What do you think about them,
Sam?
Listen, I think there are parts, I would imagine, of Hamas that have done good.
Here we are getting into the idea of the kind of liberal analysis versus actual leftist analysis, where you cannot look at something in totality without taking into account like everything actually associated with it. See, what Ethan wants is a total like objective or a subjective like rebuttal or what's the word I'm looking for? Rejection, I guess, of Hamas. But culturally, again, Sam, as somebody who is much more, I'm going to say, go on a limb and say, probably a little bit more well-read on the subject of Israel-Palestine than Ethan, knows that he has to take into account, like, all of the other extenuating factors that play upon this issue. He has to approach it with some semblance of nuance. And that is why Sam is the GOAT, because he understands that you can still talk to people about these things. You can still explain these concepts with nuance, but you need to actually apply the things that you've learned. You cannot just say, oh, this thing good, this thing bad. That way lie liberalism. From a power scaling standpoint, this battle is incredibly one-sided. Thank you, Zeku, for $5.
The people in Gaza, and I think they have done bad things. But I sort of feel, I guess, ultimately probably like Ehud Barak when he said that were I Palestinian and I was living in Gaza, that it would be likely that I would join Hamas. I mean, that's what Ehud Barak said on multiple occasions. And I think that is very, that is an understanding of human nature.
That you're not affording Israelis, by the way, just to point out an inconsistency there.
No.
How so?
Well, you're like, I refuse to understand human nature and their reaction. It's just.
Dog. Again, it is this entirely like he's just unable to see things from this. This is a lot like, I don't know what it is about like people pushing Zionism, but like unable to see things from the perspective of the very clearly persecuted. Like, because Briana Wu does this exact same shit. Fucking wild, dude.
Evil, and I don't know how to explain it.
I didn't use the word evil.
Right. I'm inferring because I asked you if you think they're evil, and you didn't really answer that.
Listen, I don't. I don't know
God, he's such a fucking petty bitch.
what Gazans felt on October 8th, but toward Hamas. But I can tell you that we have there is a long history of terrorist organizations or so-called terrorist organizations like the ANC or the IRA. Even the PLO.
Now, Sam, I got
fucking based for saying so-called terrorist organization.
I think the comparison to Hamas to what happened in South Africa is insanely disingenuous, and I personally hate when people do that.
I mean, Mandela didn't think so.
Well, Mandela did think so. He explicitly stated that he avoided committing violence on the citizenry because it would make reunification impossible. That's something he said.
I think you could say that tactically speaking, listen,
by the way, Sam, in the totality of their campaign, I think under 200 civilians died. And the people who did kill civilians were almost all held accountable for what they did.
Oh, he's talking about Nelson Mandela. I'm like,
well, I mean, I can tell you that
a significant difference.
Well, it is a significant difference. I mean, I imagine many of those people who committed atrocities on October 7th are dead now. And so
what does that have to do with anything?
Well, that's accountability.
Being killed? Okay. I mean being held accountable by the party that they're presumably doing the violence on behalf. Like,
well, you're saying the entire ANC was held accountable?
No, I was saying Nelson Mandela's party, if someone killed a civilian, they would hold them accountable. They would charge them. They would disavow their actions.
The ANC did?
Yes.
Well, the IRA was bombing places in England and throughout Ireland. I mean, we have even the Irgun or the Stern Gang when they killed, over 100 villagers in 1948. I mean, the history is full of example of organizations that commit terrorist acts.
Well,
now, I will tell you,
people look at South Africa.
I do not condone the killing of civilians, which is why obviously I'm upset about what Israel is doing.
Sure. The part that I don't like about people say, I feel like people sweep for Hamas by saying, like, what do you expect, right? But the truth is that people use South Africa as an example, but what South Africa shows is that you don't need to commit a violent war against civilians to liberate yourself.
Well, I mean, listen, we had for a year, we had the Great March of Return, where Sinwar himself was involved in that. There was Palestinians marching on a regular basis over the course of the year. I don't know how many it was, 50 or whatever, that were innocent people who went there, and snipers are shooting down unarmed civilians. And so, time and time again, and over the course of the 20 years that I've been professionally, covering this, my attitude towards Israel's willingness to have peace has changed, and my understanding of it has changed. And I can only imagine how more intense that feeling is to be living in a place that is, functionally like, the Warsaw Ghetto, insofar as you don't have access to resources, you have 50% unemployment, the apartheid that is taking place in terms of the West Bank. I mean,
I agree with those characterizations, by the way, Sam. Just to say.
But I can't imagine that my response wouldn't be to pick up a weapon.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
It's not really working out.
Well, none of it's working out, is it?
No, not much at all. Not really much at all.
What is called the greatest attack on Israelis in 75 years. The notion of Zionism and the way that Israel is organized as a society is not protecting Jews.
Well,
it's not protecting Israelis. It's not protecting Jews worldwide. It is, there may have been a time where Zionism had and there were certainly proponents of Zionism in the early 20th century, in the late, perhaps late 19th century, where there was a notion of a multi-ethnic democracy that fell by the wayside. Folks like Hannah Arendt and Einstein, left the Zionist Congress, and what it has evolved into is, I think, a nightmare for everyone involved. And so, I don't know how I would react in that type of immiseration, frankly.
Well, can I ask you?
But again, Ehud Barak said that he would pick up a weapon were he one of them, and
that's fine.
He's far closer to the conflict than I am.
I'm not saying I don't understand why people pick up weapons, right? So let me ask you this: what do you think about October 7th attack?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrific.
Yeah, it was horrible. Like, what the fuck do you want?
And this was like a military action by Hamas.
Obviously not the fucking. Oh, that's crazy.
I mean, I suspect. I don't.
That is bonkers. That he is obviously expecting Sam to try and give a more nuanced idea, like he did with do you disavow Hamas? And Sam is just like, yeah, I think it's fucking horrendous what happened on October 7th. Like, what the fuck do you think, dude? And he's like, he literally goes, Like, he's like, I can't use that. That's no good for me. Fucking come on, dude. I gotta figure out how to play this again.
I don't know what the strategy was. I mean, they attacked 2 military bases. I don't know if they were aware of that the dance.
The Nova rave.
Yeah, I don't know if they knew that rave was happening. I suspect it was to derail the Abraham Accords, which were going to leave the Palestinians out of the equation, where
again, Sam is bringing a fucking actual analysis to the table.
No, yes, of course they did, but I'm saying that they. I don't know what the strategy was on their part.
So what do you think? Would you expect the response of Israel would be to that?
I had no doubt on that day that Israel was going to respond.
Go insane. Yeah, right. It was going to be horrific. We all knew.
Yes, but I think I think the lack of proportionality was just beyond, frankly, and I was aware that this was going to be a horror show, but I don't think I had the level of awareness of what they would do to go in and literally level it, destroy what is it, 90% of the structures in Palestine, bomb hospitals, that they would use.
Well, Hamas did know that, because that's why they attacked.
Food as a weapon.
I'm more interested in the justification for what they're doing.
Probably took hostages with the idea that they would be able to negotiate.
I understand why they took hostages. I don't understand why they took children and elderly.
I believe that they probably. I mean, this is all conjecture on my part, that they would be able to trade them as a way to inhibit Israel's doing what they're doing. And I don't know if they could have even imagined that. I'm not going to endorse Hamas's strategy here.
Well, I'm just trying to flesh it out here, because this is what I'm getting to is Hamas. I think
it's so again, Sam is trying to bring real analysis into it, and why did Hamas do this? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? And Ethan is just like, yeah, well, Hamas did this because obviously they're evil and they wanted Gaza to be leveled. Bro, that's what you're bringing to the fucking table. That's your gotcha, is that Hamas wanted the IDF to use them as a fucking excuse to enact horrendous violence on a civilian population. That's what you're. Dog.
knew that this was the reaction that would happen. You know?
I can't imagine that they assumed that there would be this level of destruction.
I mean, that's why they hate Israel. I don't think they underestimate how violent the IDF can be. You know what I mean? That's why they attacked.
I certainly underestimated that they would go this far. Use
I didn't think they'd go this far, but
bomb hospitals and shoot EMTs and have rules of engagement like this. I mean,
look at this guy. Look at this fucking
I think Hamas is certainly
lion thing.
up to criticism for their strategy here.
I think that's an understatement.
Well, I mean, if that's the
well, I mean, they're a terrorist organization that intentionally antagonized like the IDF to come mass slaughter their civilians.
I think that if they overestimated whether Israel cared about the hostages, without a doubt. I mean, I don't know that there would be anybody who would make a case that this was their plan have Israel respond in this way. That's absurd.
Well, and the same is true of, like, I guess Israelis feel the same way. Like, it was totally unprecedented. You know what happened. So maybe they didn't think that their mission would be as successful as it was. On the other hand,
I have no doubt that
their mission,
they did not think that they would that they would have been able to overrun that. I mean, I think we were told that the technology of Israel's fence, et cetera, was perfect and something we should emulate in this country. I mean, Trump was all talking about that. So I have no doubt that Hamas overestimated the IDF. Yeah, I got you. What they would be able to, what kind of destruction they would wreak, and they underestimated the violence that Israel would perpetrate on Gaza. I don't know that anyone could have imagined that Israel would have engaged in this level of destruction and immiseration and bombing churches and bombing hospitals and blowing up universities and destroying the infrastructure. I mean, it's almost beyond belief.
So one thing that when I was talking to Hasan, and I'm just going to talk about his point. This is about him personally. When I asked him, because this is obviously the $1 million question,
not
right?
beating the fucking can't stop bringing up Hasan allegations.
By the way, there's not one public bomb shelter in Gaza?
That doesn't surprise me.
There's not one public bomb shelter in Gaza?
He's so fucking confused. He's like, what?
Okay.
I just think that's interesting.
Why?
It's pretty fucked up, don't you think?
What?
Do I think it's fucked up?
Sam is so fucking confused.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I understand the point. Like,
well, I mean, do
you think anything would be standing anymore?
Well, bomb shelters are underground. I mean, they would definitely be a lot safer.
I've seen what happened to tunnels under hospitals.
Your statement is, so you say there were tunnels under hospitals?
Oh my God!
Israel built the ones under the first one that they went into. They built it when they were occupying Gaza.
Right, that's true of that one. But I mean, they have a vast tunnel network, obviously, as everybody knows. God. But I don't care. I don't want to get into the weeds on this. The $1 million question is like,
I don't want to get into the weeds on this, brother. You brought it up.
Now it's obviously insanely difficult
to say. I think we can stop aid immediately. I mean, obviously, it's not going to happen under Trump.
I'm in favor of that, by the way.
Okay.
I mean, good.
I mean, I think
we should call for all aid to be ceased, and I think we should stop protecting them in the UN.
What should have Israel done on October 8th, I guess? Like, what would have been an appropriate response for their government?
I mean,
without saying not this.
What should they have done on October 8th? I mean, I think that there is.
I haven't seen Emma Frost yet.
Hitting strategic sites to attempt to take out leadership. They should have. But let's talk.
The leadership was underground.
Yeah, to look at that, that moment in history, like maybe it was.
I disagree because they had to do something.
Maybe in that moment. They had to go in and bomb or whatever they do. I think that any action that they would have taken at that point, frankly, was a function of literally decades of oppressing people and attempting to bring this to an eventuality.
Right.
I mean, this was.
And so, what should they have done?
Ages ago. Well, I mean,
you're avoiding. Yeah.
Okay, I think what they should have done is begun empowering Palestinians in the West Bank. They should have done
this.
This
is my favorite answer, Sam. You're saying that this is what Hasan told me. They should disband their government and lift the borders in response to the worst terrorist attack that's ever happened.
I think honestly, when you see that your policies have failed, but I don't think
you actually don't believe that that's a real thing, though. I'm interested in having like a real conversation. You can't live in a fairy tale land where, in response to the worst military or terrorist attack of all time, Israel, who's already, as you state, like genocidal and racist and all these terrible things, is going to lift their borders and disband their government.
Wait a second. You're asking me what they should have done, and that's different.
No, in a realistic way, not in a fairy
tale,
Sam.
Well, listen, there is no realistic thing. Their agenda has been quite clear. Their agenda has been, since Ariel Sharon walked on the Temple Mount and tried to scuttle peace talks, the agenda since the assassination of Rabin by arch-Zionists in Israel, the agenda has been to bring about this moment. There is no doubt about it. The annihilation of the Palestinian people has been an agenda in Israel for far too long. So from the perspective, it's anything I say is fantastical relative to what they would actually do. Anything.
There's nothing they could have done that because of the situation, anything they would have done would have been.
There was no plan that on this day they were going to do this. But if you go back 10 or 15 years ago and look into Bibi Netanyahu's brain, the idea that this is ultimately going to happen was definitely the agenda.
What, in terms of like attacking Gaza or inciting an attack?
Finding a way to destroy Gaza.
Frankly. But to find a way to eliminate the Palestinians, this has been the agenda of at one time what I think was a smaller segment of the Israeli body politic, and I think has increasingly become an even larger portion of the Israeli politic. So I mean, anything I say in terms of should is fantastical. Anything.
So okay. I mean, so this is like I understand where you're coming from, right? Like
there was an opportunity for a ceasefire that was called in November, in December. They could have held a ceasefire at any point, and the amount of killing would have been far less. They could have done that. They could have ended it after a week.
I mean, Hamas could have ended the war anytime too.
What?
How could have Hamas ended the war?
By releasing the hostages?
No, listen. Israel has said time and time again that the release of the hostages is not going to end their assault on Gaza.
Like, look, I'm not a prude,
I don't believe that.
Emma Frost is like...
I haven't seen those statements. I've seen the opposite.
Like
I believe that
you really haven't seen those statements?
No, I haven't. And everything?
I'll review them. I mean, it depends when it depends when they were made too, right? Like, what's in response to?
At any time they could have done that.
Well, what has Hamas done to end the war?
Hamas offered
what have they done to end the war?
Early dawn to say Hamas offered all the hostages in agreement in response to Israel not coming into Gaza. I mean, there's just to defend Israel's actions.
That didn't happen either.
Being inevitable. Like, when do you think they should have ended it? When do you think they should have ended it?
So when
Ecuador,
who have ended what?
You've asked me the question, what should have Israel done?
Like
you tell me what they should have done. Do you think what they've done is right?
Well, I've clearly stated no, Sam.
Okay, so tell me what they should have done.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, hindsight is a beautiful thing, but in my opinion, like you said, I think some more specific strikes. I think more moving slowly, because as you kind of pointed out but didn't really acknowledge,
when do you think they should have ended?
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the leadership is obviously underground. So it's going to be a long mission of trying to get them. It's going to be a difficult mission. But I think militarily, they probably have some obligation to their citizenry, at the very least, to like take out but we're ignoring the fact that missiles are being shot into Israel nonstop. And I know you're going to say,
why?
Iron Dome stops most of them, which is true. But at the same time, I mean, a country needs to respond to that. They can't just allow missiles to be shot in.
Okay,
tell
but
me the
why?
non-fantastical
Why are the
version
fucking
of what they should have done? Should have been 2 weeks, 3 weeks? How many Hamas leaders, how many members of Hamas should they have killed before they leave? Because we know that Blinken said on his way out that virtually every Hamas member of Hamas that they've killed has probably been replaced by someone who's lost a family member or an entire family or whatnot.
See,
so you tell
what was I
me,
fucking
Ethan,
talking
if you're
about?
the one with the sensical perspective on this, and mine is fantastical, what should they have done that would have been appropriate in your mind?
Yeah. So besides like special operations and stuff, I think it would have been a good idea to, I think there's a space where they could like try to find peace partners in Gaza before destroying the whole thing. Like obviously they approached it completely wrong, right? But there are ways I think that could have happened that are realistic, like trying to forge some kind of peace partner, some kind of alliance, some kind of international
all those
coalition.
People were marching. They were marching. They were marching in the Great March of Return, week after week after week.
Sam, was there Hamas activity at the Great March?
Sinwar was marching. Sinwar was marching with them.
Were people attacking the border wall?
During the Great March of Return, the first dozens of these things before the snipers, no, they weren't. So there were the people for peace.
There was Hamas activity. They were attacking the fence. They were like trying to cross the border.
They were
but not
attacking
militants. Militants were trying to cross the border.
You're telling me that in the first dozen of these marches, there were people attacking the fence?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, again,
nothing. Okay, yeah, don't expand on that anymore, please.
I think that there's a way for Israel to try. I think they can obviously pursue peace. The way that they're doing it is impossible, right? Like it's fucked up, it's insane, it's genocidal, it's horrific.
They're not pursuing peace.
I'm not saying. I'm saying the opposite, Sam.
I don't think Israel is.
Well, you asked me what should they have done. I mean, obviously
yes.
They're not pursuing peace. I agree with you. Like quite the opposite. That's not what they're doing. But I'm saying there could have been a path, although it's not. I think, unfortunately, I think their response was inevitable based on everything that happened.
You think it was inevitable that they would kill these many people and they would use food supplies as a weapon, that they would have leveled hospitals and universities and 80-90% of the homes? I mean, how
I don't know to what extent, but like a huge response was definitely inevitable. I'm not justifying it, Sam. You asked me a question. I'm answering it. You're putting this on me like I'm saying.
No. I'm just saying inevitability. I wonder what you must think of an Israeli body politic where this level of atrocity is inevitable.
Well, you described your and Hamas's understanding of the IDF. I wouldn't say that. I can't say to what extent, but you agree that a huge response was inevitable.
Oh, thank you, hero.
I listen. I believe a response that was inevitable by Israel, and that is because I have a much more theoretically jaded view of that country and their agenda, I think, than you. But to expect that what they've done is inevitable.
To what? Well, Sam,
I just wonder, what it is that you think is in that body politic. Listen, I don't think it's inevitable, just to use an example in this country. I don't think that it's inevitable that we are going to be deporting and disappearing.
I know this made Ethan look bad. Like I've been hearing about it on social media all day. I didn't realize how fucking bad.
Perspective on America is still too optimistic to think that's inevitable. I can't even imagine what I would think would be inevitable. And I think, listen, our invasion of Iraq and the complete lack of caring and the only thing that would even mitigate that is there were no images coming out of Iraq, or very few, and certainly I was exposing them more than the American population writ large. But to perceive what we did in Iraq as inevitable
It's a different situation. That's completely, yeah. I mean, that was completely unpredictable. But we kind of touched on it. Where Hamas, and again, to what end this even matters is
okay. But you keep bringing it up.
What? Ultimately, but you know, Hamas knew that they were going to bomb the fuck out of Gaza.
Listen,
Israel
I
knew
would
that.
imagine
Oh my
Hamas
God,
thought there was going to be a response, but they wouldn't have taken hostages if they thought that they couldn't use those hostages.
Of course,
as a way
they thought they could. I don't deny
deterring,
that. Yeah.
Of deterring Israel from entering, and that was a miscalculation on their part. They presumed that Israel was more interested in those hostages, I think, than they had assumed.
Well, and that's part of what a lot of the civil unrest in Israel is about, is that a lot of people do care about the hostages and think that the government needs to stop the war and focus on getting the hostages back and not killing innocent civilians. So that
I wonder about that last part, but
which part?
The part about the killing of innocent civilians. I mean, you know, I think that
I said that's what they're doing.
No. I'm saying I wonder if the Israeli body politic.
Oh, you think the Israelis want civilians to die?
I think the Israelis.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not all Israelis, but I think that
the people in charge, the generals you keep calling the strikes, the fucking military that keeps taking TikToks
of Israelis to maintain this government, believe that Palestinians in Gaza, that their lives have no value, that they are all future enemies, that they that they all represent a threat to Israel, and I think that's, I think that's a twisted perspective.
Just so you know, there were massive demonstrations in Israel, tens of thousands of people in a country that's relatively small. So I think characterizing like the majority of the public as wanting to kill civilians is a little sick, personally. But you know, it's, I guess you could say whatever you want.
I'm basing this on conversations with you know, Israeli reporters, that there does not seem to be in Israel a majority, at the very least, of people who are concerned about the fate of the Palestinians in Gaza. Certainly they want hostages, and again, not all Israelis, but you know, look, I can make analogous assessments of the United States at various times about things that reflect poorly on our national body politic as well. But you know, the proof is in the pudding.
Can I tell you something? 300,000 protesters in Tel Aviv, 200,000 in the rest of the country. That's 500,000 people out in the street protesting the government of a country that has like 6 million or 5 million in the.
Are you talking about the protests about the judiciary?
I'm talking about to release the hostages.
Okay, to release the hostages.
Yeah. To stop, to ceasefire. Ceasefire, Sam. That's what that means.
They were
500,000.
They were calling for a ceasefire, or they were calling for a release of the hostages.
Well, what's the point of telling Hamas to release the hostages? Yeah, of course it's a ceasefire, Sam.
Well, but Israel has to, and I know I'll look this up.
Deal with this.
I don't have much time.
Israel.
Wait. Let's look this up and see how many times the Israeli government has said return of the hostages will not end.
Sam, I'm responding to you saying the majority of Israelis want civilians to die. 500,000 people came to the street for a ceasefire of a country of 5 million, Sam. That's 10%.
Israel just broke the latest ceasefire. Okay, where is the political response from the Israeli people? I mean, the idea that Gazans can be held responsible for an election that happened 18 years ago.
Sam, you said the majority of Israelis want civilians to die.
I think the majority of Israelis do not have a problem with what's going on in Gaza. I think that
unfortunately might be true to the extent that they've gotten.
Well, then we agree.
They've gotten much more radical. Unfortunately, tragically, everybody's been a lot more radicalized since October 7th. And that's tragic. I agree. I think people in Israel are jaded and they're cynical and they don't care, like you said, and I think it's tragic.
Yes. Well, that's what my contention was. I mean, I'm looking at something from.
I can't watch much more of this, especially when we still have another fucking video to get through really quick. Well, it's not going to be quick, but I only have it in me for so much frustration in one day. Chat. I haven't played this game in months. It's occurring to me now. And so I haven't seen any of these, like, maps. But, so, the other thing that kind of happened or came out today is I know, it's almost done. That's why I fucking... No, it was not 300 hours. The 300 hours. It wasn't 3 hours. I saw somebody say 100%, so my mind mixed those up. It wasn't 3 hours. It was the Sam Seder segment was basically done. So Trump had... people are calling it the most embarrassing interview of all time. People are calling it one of the worst interviews in the history of being a president. And I kind of had to see it for myself. A lot of people, granted, this is kind of the problem, is that when you get old, it becomes easy to throw around words like senility and dementia. And I think that's what we're probably going to start seeing a little bit here.
This is an ABC News special from inside the White House.
I'm honestly surprised that this wasn't fucking like Daily Wire or something, that it was ABC, the failing ABC news media.
Triumphant when you walk back? Yes, there's a feeling of triumph.
President Donald J. Trump on his 100th day in office, from the #1 issue, the economy.
People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns? Well, they did sign up for it, actually.
To immigration.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods.
To Elon Musk.
Did DOGE go too far, too fast, too reckless?
And the concerns from many Americans about the impact of tariffs.
Everything's going to be just fine.
President Trump, the first 100 days, the interview in the Oval Office with ABC News anchor and senior national correspondent Terry Moran.
Earlier today, I sat down with President Trump in the Oval Office for an exclusive interview on his 100th day of his second term. It was a great opportunity to ask him some wide-ranging questions about the issues that most
oh my God,
concern
look at this fella.
so many Americans.
This guy looks like a
Digimon. We talked about the economy and his tariffs. We talked about immigration and those deportations. And you can see here the White House has put up some posters that they say show some of the violent criminals that have so far been deported. We talked about a lot more as well. The president's answers were provocative, at times combative, and always he was strong in his convictions about his policies. But
God damn it, you gotta fucking stop being so deferential. I know you're ABC, I know you still need fucking media access, but like being like, oh, he was strong in his convictions, all this bullshit.
How are you? This is the Oval Office.
Civility
This
bullshit.
is the Resolute desk, which is really something very spectacular. There's nothing quite like it. And they give you a choice of about 7 different desks, but this is the one I chose. Ronald Reagan had it. FDR had it. A few people had it. But I found it to be the most beautiful. It is amazing. This is an amazing space. And amazing.
Oh my God, this is already so fucking embarrassing.
Wonderful, but amazing for what it represents. It represents the U.S. And if properly used, a lot of good things can happen. I see Ronald Reagan over there. Yeah, Ronald Reagan. Right to your left. Being in the Oval Office is very important. See Ronald Reagan here, and put him a little bit larger. It sort of seemed to fit very nicely. You have
Democrats a little bit. You have
Franklin Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt. So you look at that picture and people say, well, what's he doing up there? But look, he was a serious president, whether we like it or not. He was a four-termer.
What?
And, went through a war.
He was a serious president, whether we like it or not.
Washington,
What?
but you look over here, that's Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine.
Dude is just fucking saying shit, man.
Pretty important, that was his claim to fame.
Please,
over here you have the original of
Trump to
Abraham
tell me
Lincoln
what
and
the
George
fuck
Washington,
he thinks the
and of
Monroe
course you have
Doctrine
the
is.
Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Lincoln's portrait up there. I'm not familiar with that one, but I think when I'm looking at that famous line in the second inaugural, with malice toward none, with charity toward all.
Well, he was a great president. He went through a lot.
And the Oval Office is always changing between presidents. And
it changes,
that says something.
It does.
What does this say about how you feel about the country and the office?
Well, I think it says I love the country. I mean, I'm putting pictures of presidents up that have never been up. Pictures that weren't.
This is fucking insane. I did not.
In many cases,
People aren't talking about this shit enough.
This is. But great men of great achievement.
And your every detail, it seems.
Yeah.
This is your office.
I'm a very detailed person. I'm a very clean person. I like cleanliness. I like to see the space be treated properly. I've added a lot to the space in terms of beautification, in terms of modernization. That's
a gallery of presidents.
It really is. It really is. So, and it's an honor to have you people with us.
Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Here in the Oval Office, it's special. 100 days into your second term. So, what's the one thing, just one thing?
There's no way they just let this slide. Oh, buddy, this is mainstream media. There's such a way they made this fucking slide.
Well, I think maybe the border is the most significant because our country was really going bad. They were allowing people to come in from prisons, as you know, and you've heard me say it, but you've heard a lot of people say it. Prisons, mental institutions, gang members, murderers. We had many murderers, 11,888, they think. Some murdered more than one person. So you had murderers coming in, you had everybody coming in, and not just South America, from all over the world. They were emptying their prisons into our country. And now it's totally closed down. And you've seen just yesterday, they announced 99.9%. Nobody thought that could happen. And it happened quickly, very quickly. And I think that's very significant. But we're doing other things that are very significant. Results will take a little bit longer because it's one of those, it's complicated. It's many years of trading abuse. We've been abused by other countries for years and years. They laughed at us. They thought we were stupid people. And we're fixing it. And I think that's going to be very, very important. But
I have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, I would really say that the border is so important.
And we'll get there. Immigration is huge.
We'll
get there. But I want to start with the economy, the number one issue for so many people, for just about everybody. It's one of the main reasons that you're back in this office. And now we have this trade war with China that Moody's and other analysts say is going to cost American families thousands of more dollars per year. And there is a lot of concern out there. People are worried. Even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, no shit.
How do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually, and this is what I campaigned on. I said that we've been abused by other countries at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We were losing $3 to $5 billion a day on trade.
He doesn't get how fucking trade deficits work. Oh my God.
To $2 trillion a year, not sustainable. They were taking advantage of us like they've never. I could have left it that way, and at some point there would have been an implosion like nobody's ever seen. But I said, no, we have to fix it. I've wanted to do this for many years. I had the best economy during my first term. We had a tremendous economy, tremendous success. And we did tremendous numbers of tariffs we took in a lot of money from tariffs, China in particular, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. We had no inflation, as you know. We had an incredible economy. We were given credit for a great economy. But I said, we have to fix this, otherwise it's just not self-sustaining.
But one of the things you ran on was you'd said you'd bring prices down on day one, and that it would happen fast.
And I have.
Happen fast.
I have.
Most economists will tell you the tariffs will raise prices. So don't your tariffs cut against that promise you made to bring prices down?
No, because I had massive tariffs on China, if you remember, in my first term, and we had essentially no inflation, like around 1% inflation, which is like a perfect number. And then when Biden took over, it went through the roof. It went to probably the worst inflation we've ever had. I mean, we had an inflation nightmare. Now, if you look at what's happening now, we're only there for 100 days, as you say, and in 100 days, we took over.
No, I don't think he understands how tariffs
for 4 years, for 2 years, especially
tariffs,
2
trade
years
deficit.
of his
I doubt he understands like, the very basics of the
I would say
economy
record-setting like we've never seen. They say 48 years, the worst in 48 years. I say it was much worse than that.
Yeah.
Right. So now if you look at what's happened, energy is down. Gasoline hit $1.98 in a few states during the last couple of days. It was $3.50 and $4 and $4.50. But gasoline is way down. When I took over, you remember the big thing with eggs. They hit me the first week. Eggs, like it was my fault. I said, I didn't cause this problem. This problem was caused by Biden. What's the problem with eggs?
No, because it's the market reacting to you, you fucking
eggs are down
moron.
87%.
Like you say something and the market collapses.
A lot of that is
and
bird
by the way,
flu,
and there were plenty of eggs for Easter, which we just went through. There were plenty of eggs for Easter. They were saying you won't have enough eggs for Easter.
Damn.
My secretary did a fantastic job on eggs. Groceries are down. Everything's down.
Okay.
Interest rates are the same. Interest rates should be down. But we have a Federal Reserve that wants to be stubborn. They want to be cute.
We'll get to that. You said something a couple of weeks ago that struck me. You said concerning the tariffs, which economists say are going to raise prices, you said, quote, hang tough. Yeah. It won't be easy. You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should expect, some hard times?
I've said that during my campaign. Look, we won a campaign by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by a lot. You know, we had a tremendous campaign. I said all of these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen. We're not
hard times?
The way he
hard times are ahead?
It's so easy to forget how fucking dumb he sounds when he talks.
Gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down. Many things are down, just about everything. You know, you don't have
I wish people would fucking tell my grocery store that
grocery
prices are down because my shit keeps getting more fucking expensive.
Maybe
I have to
more
pay
than
$50
down
for
into
like a couple days worth of groceries.
When you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
Not now, but it's the tariffs, right? We still have 145% tariffs on China. Your Treasury Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're trying to say something's going to happen, Terry.
No, okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business.
Terry,
I want to ask you.
I do know business.
Yes,
and
so
I know
145% tariffs on China,
like
and that is basically an embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on everything from electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going to eat it.
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And
yeah, how are they going to eat those tariffs if they...
us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad. If you look at the European Union, it was terrible what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off. They're not doing that anymore.
I want you to think about the boom that this country has had in small businesses, mom and pop Etsy stores, small businesses that became big businesses.
They haven't had a boom because of inflation.
Well, the boom was
inflationary boom. The people were wiped out with inflation. I mean, you read the news, you do the business stuff, I assume.
Now, a lot of them built those businesses on the trading model.
Yeah, and they're going to make more money
They
now.
sourced their products overseas, and now they're looking at an extinction event.
I've been here.
It's a disaster for them.
I've been here for 3 months. I've taken a trade deficit down to a number that's very, very starting to get really good. I just got here.
What number is that, Donald?
We had a country that it was not sustainable. What Biden did to this country between The open borders where criminals poured into our country, between every country in the world ripping us off on trade, it was not sustainable.
So your message to those small businesses who are saying, we can't live a month, 2 months with these tariffs. Apple got a big deal. Is there something for them?
No, not only Apple. We've got $7 to $8 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months. Biden didn't have that over a year. I mean, if you look at Biden, nobody was really investing in this country. Everybody was ripping off our country. Apple's putting up $500 billion, but that's only one of many companies. Companies are flooding into our country.
Good. I'm not going to lie. That
so
felt
your
good
answer
to do
to
to
the
the Iron
concern
Fist.
about the tariffs is everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Everything's going to be just fine. It wouldn't have been if I didn't do this. I had a choice. I could leave it, have a nice, easy time, but I think ultimately you would have had an implosion. Our country had inflation that was worse than they've ever had it before. You don't mention that. Why don't you mention that? We had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. People say 48 years. Probably in the history of our country, we had the worst inflation. And people were dying over the inflation. You know that. Now the grocery prices are coming down, the energy prices are coming down, gasoline's coming down.
I need more fucking pushback from ABC
Let's
on this
move on
shit.
to immigration.
Yeah, let's forget about all that shit. God damn it.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods.
Oh, are there? God damn it.
President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
Okay, let's move on to immigration. And as you said,
Google Joe
it is
Biden
an
inflation to
undeniable
find out
fact
more.
That illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods. And so I want to ask
About my message?
Methods. About your methods, how you're accomplishing
That
this.
bodes well.
Do you acknowledge that under our law, every single person who gets deported gets a hearing first to make their case?
Nope.
Well, are we talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you're not deporting citizens at this point.
Well, let me ask you, did they get hearings when,
we're not taking
when
this.
Biden
Sorry, y'all.
allowed 21 million, because I think the number's 20 million people to flow into our country? You had 21 million people that came into our country through a stupid open border, and they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from South. They came from all over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world they had here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
but
did we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first.
Well,
do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this. If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to do?
The law
give
is
21
the law,
million?
sir.
The law is the law.
The law doesn't say anything about trials.
No, not trials, hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country illegally. We have to get them out.
Oh, look at that punk rock
I
schoolgirl.
can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're gonna
Thousands
murder
of
people.
murderers.
They already
Okay,
have
here's
murdered
the
people
problem.
in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out,
they're
and we have to
bad
get them
guys.
out.
So what at that point, what they need to be fucking saying, the only thing he should be driving home, the only thing he should be saying is, how do you know that we have thousands of murderers when none of them have been getting a hearing? Straight up, that's all you need to say. How do you know all of these people are murderers if none of them are getting a hearing? Because I know we're about to get to the MS-13 fucking tattoo part soon. Like, it's... Yeah, citation needed, motherfucker.
Fast.
Really bad guys, but in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where
They get
we have
a
to get
process.
them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
Okay.
They get whatever my
Motherfucker!
lawyers say.
Right. All right, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
Like, I get that dealing with him is about as fun as dealing with a fucking impetuous toddler. Like, I get that it is not easy. I get that the reporter kind of seems like it seems like he's trying to ride a line of walking on eggshells to not piss off this fucking giant, like, senile baby man. But, brother, you cannot just fucking have somebody say, like, oh, they get a process. When you say, hey, so people get due process, and he's like, well, no. Like, you can't just fucking be like, okay, well, let's move on past that. What the fuck are you doing? God damn it. That is so fucking frustrating. Sorry, we're about to take this point. There we go. Concepts of a process.
Deported.
Yeah, no, they
Venezuelans
deported a 2-year-old
to
toddler.
that prison in El Salvador. You say they're violent, they're gang members, they're terrorists. Many of them don't
children.
have a criminal record at all.
Well,
but I want to.
I'm not so sure about that. If you take a look,
I want to read you something.
Excuse me. When you look at those people, they were violent people.
When you look at those
people,
people,
many of them don't have a criminal record at this point.
I want to read you something.
When you look at those, just looking, that's all he needs.
Okay. Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan, one of the leading podcasters, Trump supporter, about the deportation of Venezuelans. He said, quote, rounding up gang members and shipping them to El Salvador with no due process, he said it was dangerous, and added, quote,
oh, well, Joe Rogan's not going to be fucking added to the White House press pool.
Become monsters while we're fighting monsters.
Oh,
Joe Rogan.
damn.
Oh,
Joe Rogan
with
fucking
100%.
pulling out the Nietzsche he learned in fucking college.
We're doing something that has to be done. We have a country that's very sick. Joe Biden, and it's not him because I don't even think he knew what the hell was happening, but the people around him are vicious.
You can't be saying that shit.
And what they've done to the country is unbelievable. They've allowed 21 million people to pour into our country. Many of these people are criminals. They've allowed you mentioned Venezuela.
I mean, so people are talking about, like, oh, Joe Rogan, that's the way you get through Trump. But, like, no, like, the people who, the idea that somebody from his base, somebody who shilled for him is turning on him, that's,
States of America,
that's
getting them
what
out.
he,
and I was
like,
elected to get
that's
them
his
out.
stock and trade. That does fucking matter to him,
fast,
for sure.
And we're getting them out legally. Now, in some cases, we have judges. In some cases, they're radical left judges. What happened the other day where a judge was protecting a criminal was horrible. And I think she's got big problems, frankly. And there are a couple of them like that.
I want to talk about one
Wait
man.
a minute. Yep. We have to be treated fairly by judges. And we're not being treated fairly by all judges.
Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the court orders?
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmer
Hey,
Abrego
Hammock.
Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him to facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us. Should not have said that. Should not have said that. And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you know, you're making this person sound. This is a MS-13 gang member.
No evidence that he was MS-13.
Been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him. Okay. This is not
the wife
an
was
innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
He came
sir.
into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
No, you fucking
would.
not.
You to facilitate
You don't know if
I'm not the one making
the wife
this
wants him
decision.
out.
We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
Okay, so he just said I could, but now he can't?
I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court says what the law is.
Listen, I was elected to take care of a problem. It was a unforced
He
error
is
that
he
was
is
made
quite
by a very
literally he's
incompetent
doing the
man.
fucking the Simpsons bit. I was elected to lead, not to read. Like he is I know people talk about it again, it's a fucking lived up thing to be like, oh, Idiocracy is a documentary, no, but like come on, man. Come on.
And that turned out to be incompetent, that you always said was wonderful, great genius, right?
Who?
And now you find out, all of the media now, they're saying what a mistake they made. A man who was
Internet,
grossly
Marcy
incompetent
says hi, by the
allowed us
way.
to have
Marcy
open
Rangan
borders
says
where
hi.
millions of people flowed in. I campaigned on that issue. I wouldn't say it was my #1 issue, but it was pretty close.
Right up there.
I campaigned on that issue. I've done an amazing job. I have closed borders. He said you couldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it. It would never happen. Well, it happened, and it happened very quickly. Wait a minute. When we have criminals, murderers, criminals in this country, we have to get them out, and we're doing it.
By law.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
Well,
over
wait a
that.
minute. Wait a
He
minute.
didn't. He didn't.
Had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not
Don't
have the
do that.
letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So let me
That
just...
was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry.
This is one of maybe the most embarrassing things I've ever seen a president or a sitting politician do, because he is, not only is he very clearly, plainly, obviously, blatantly wrong, he continues to go back and insist that he is in fact correct. And it is so the thing, for those who don't know, the thing he's talking about here is the in the thing that was passed around of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's knuckle tats, the tattoos in question are one of them's like one of them's like an X, one of them's like a skull, one of them's something else. And the way it was passed around was in a photo that was labeled for each letter of MS-13 or each insignia of MS-13 what those symbols corresponded to. And it's so clearly fucking bullshit. It's so clearly fucking nonsense. They don't correlate. Gang experts, tattoo experts, like people who study gang symbolism and gang violence have all been like, yeah, this does, like, we've never seen anybody use like these things to signify MS-13. This is some bullshit. But what happened here, the thing that Trump is mixing up is that the M, the S, the 1, and the 3 were put on the photo to show what they believed the other symbol stood for, and he thought that those the kind of guide stone, the ones that were supposed to tell you, like, this is the M, this is the S, he thought that those were real tattoos. The fucking Microsoft Word ass, like, just here's an M, here's an S, here's a 1 and a 3. And he thought those were real. And he is not only unaccepting that that isn't the case, he is not only basing his entire argument against this man on this shit, but he is continuing to go back and try and rub it in the interviewer's face. Yeah, Arial font, MS-13.
You want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll agree to disagree.
I wish.
Here we go.
Don't
I wish.
Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine.
Oh, a journalist, why are you not more?
He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No.
See, again, the journalist needed to be better. Like, that journalist needed to have a picture.
Okay?
We'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested. Ukraine.
Coming up,
why don't you say, yes, he does? Why don't you just accept the narrative I'm laying out? Oh, my God.
And that historic meeting. President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
I want to turn, I was just in Rome, and to that moving photograph of you and President Zelensky sitting in St. Peter's Basilica talking peace. It went around the world.
Sure.
Take us into that moment.
God, this fucking dude.
Look, the Ukraine is a very serious, very tough situation. And this is
he is being such a fucking softball and has had nothing but opportunity after opportunity to stick it to this dickhead.
Soldiers a week of being killed, Russian and Ukrainian. We also spend a tremendous amount of money in Ukraine, and Europe should be spending much more than us. They're not. They're spending much less. It's been badly handled by the Biden administration. It's been badly handled all the way around,
That moment.
The moment was a moment of solace, in a sense, because tremendous numbers of people are dying. A lot of his people are dying. They're being killed. And I feel very badly about it. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. And it didn't happen for 4 years. It was never even a thought of it happening.
It does feel like something's happening after that meeting with Zelensky in St. Peter's. You posted this on social media. There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas and cities and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe...
Well, that was part of my post, but you're right. That was a part of a post.
And it says, it makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along.
Yeah, that's possible. Sure.
He
could be tapping me along a little bit.
Tapping
I would say
what
that...
the fuck does that mean?
He would like to stop the war. I think that if it weren't for me, I think he'd want to take over the whole country, personally. I always felt. So
Putin?
When I left, there wasn't even a chance that this would happen. When Biden got involved, I won't say whether or not he handled it properly, but obviously
this dude's blacklisted as fuck.
Putin went in, the war started. I believe that Putin wanted to get all of Ukraine once he went in. And I think part of the reason he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan, how incompetently Milley and all these guys handled that. It was one of the greatest embarrassments of our lifetimes, but maybe in the history of our country. Okay. So Putin went in. I think Putin wanted all of Ukraine.
Right.
I think if I didn't win the election, he would have gotten all of Ukraine. I think he would have taken all of Ukraine. I think his first choice... Never with me. He would have never gone in. With this group of losers, he went in. He saw what happened in Afghanistan. He said, "Wow, this is my chance," because it was always the apple of his eye. I talked to him. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I think he wanted the whole country.
You've said for months.
And because of me, I do believe that he's willing to stop the fighting. Don't forget.
You think he wants peace?
You
think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does. Yes, I think
Still.
he does. I think
even with the raining missiles
I think he really, his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Oh my God. Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
And
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start
Fake
telling me
questions?
that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know.
He's going back to the tattoo. Oh my God.
Let me just tell you, I don't trust a lot of people. But I do think this. I think that...
And you know what? People are going to let the tattoo thing go. Because it's fair. There's honestly so many more important things to talk about.
His choice would be to take over all of Ukraine. It's a war that never should have happened.
People need to not let the tattoo thing go.
Because of incompetent people.
It's not a minor fucking thing.
There's no peace deal.
It is like a linchpin of his argument against this person for ruining the life and due process of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and countless other people.
I will tell you, I was not happy when I saw Putin shooting missiles into a few towns and cities And that was not something that I liked seeing, and I thought it was inappropriate. But I think the whole war is inappropriate.
Okay.
Again, it's a war that shouldn't have happened. This is a war that if the election weren't rigged, and it was totally rigged, the 2020 election, if it weren't rigged, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have had the embarrassment of Afghanistan. You wouldn't have October 7th with Israel.
Oh my God.
You wouldn't have had any of the problems that you have right now.
I want to ask one question.
You wouldn't have had
because
inflation
Hamas
either.
is really
I want to ask
afraid
one
of
question
Trump.
about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
Did you take him to
I
the
had a
woodshed?
talk with them, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good
I don't
talk.
think he
He's a
fucking
talented
remembers
guy.
what he
He's
said.
young.
I straight up
smart,
don't think.
highly educated, and I think he's going to be a very good defense, hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have
maybe
100% confidence in
I
Pete
don't have
Hegseth.
100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
it's a pretty important position.
I have no. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
We will.
Let's go.
Coming up, President Trump on Elon Musk and Doge.
Did Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly?
President Trump, the first 100 days, continues.
Elon Musk and Doge. Everyone knows that there's wasteful government spending. It's really important. But the cuts have had some serious consequences. There have been cuts to foreign aid programs that save lives and keep people alive overseas. There's been research at the National Institutes of Health on cancer, on Alzheimer's, that has had to be stopped. And the question I think people have is, did Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly?
No, I think Doge has been saved $150 billion. We saved, that's a lot of money. There's also a lot of things right now under investigation, which is going to increase that amount by a lot. That's a tremendous amount of money. There were some things where, when I heard about them, I put them back, as you know. There are things that I'm considering right now putting back, but overall we've saved hundreds of billions of dollars.
Well, the original promise was $2 trillion, went to $1 trillion, now it's $150 billion and heading south.
You don't know what it's going to be because we have things that are at a very high level that are being looked at right now. We also found tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse.
God
as you
damn.
know. We found a lot of fraud.
I
There was
forgot
a
this
lot
was
of
a
fraud.
fucking scam.
Fraudulent
Holy
things
shit.
were taking place, and we ended that, and those people are going to be
Thank you
suffering.
very much,
Just
Hammock.
A legal note fraud is a crime. There have been no referrals to
Fucking
the Justice Department.
blindsided
Well,
me.
you don't
Holy
know that,
fuck.
do you? How do you know that?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Have there
I
been referrals?
forgot I like
Are
playing
there-
Why,
this
how
one.
would you know that there were no referrals? I think there were referrals.
They generally, all right, there's
Okay.
been no investigation from the
How do
Justice
you know
Department.
that?
I'm asking you, sir.
No, you're not asking me. You made a statement. You're not
Now I'm
asking
asking you.
That was a statement that you made. There have
Now I'm
been.
asking you. Are
Have there been? Yes, there have.
So there have been referrals for fraud from the
Of
work
course
of
there have
Doge.
been. Take a look at some of these
All right,
things that
all
took
right,
place.
all right.
Billions of dollars we give it to people for no reason whatsoever. Of course there have
I
been.
want to bring up what is truly one of, to a lot of people, one of the biggest achievements of your first term. That is Operation Warp Speed. You got that COVID vaccine up and
right.
going and distributed, and a lot of people took it, and a lot of people feel their lives have been saved by it. Now we have this measles outbreak, biggest in a decade, in Texas, and it's because people aren't getting their children vaccinated. Do you recommend to parents that they get their children vaccinated for measles?
Well, I recommend the governors to make the decisions. You have a very talented governor of Texas, and he's making decisions, and those decisions are going to be made rapidly. This is a very much different thing than COVID in terms of rapidity and speed and other things. Measles have been with us a long time, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that the governors are making the decision. It's a federalist decision.
The president is our leader in so many ways, and your voice counts so much, and you can't tell moms and dads, Yeah, it's a good thing to get a measles vaccine.
Do I recommend it?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Then fucking.
Got it. That
Do
was
I
my
mandate
question.
it? No.
No, I didn't.
But I do recommend it, yes.
Good. Do you think you're...
And I have recommended it.
Do you think the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has a history of, at the very least, vaccine skepticism, do you think Kennedy recommends
I would
the measles
say
vaccine?
outright denial.
He did. He recommended it. Yeah, he did.
You satisfied with his
he
response on this?
recommended that they go out and get the vaccine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still ahead.
I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
I want to talk a little bit about presidential power, the powers that you have in the presidency temporarily that the American people have given you, right? You've revoked a lot of people's security clearances. You've revoked people's security details who are still threatened, with death threats. You've gone after law firms because they've employed people you don't like, or they have represented people you don't like.
Well, they obviously agreed because they paid me a lot of money.
Well, the reason they agreed is because you were threatening to destroy their business with your executive order that said you can't represent clients for the federal government. That's their bread and butter.
Boys. These are the biggest, most powerful lawyers. These are not people
you got a lot of leverage
are easily intimidated.
As president, you got all the cards.
They paid hundreds of millions of dollars because they felt, I guess, they probably felt they did something wrong.
It was for survival, sir.
No, it isn't.
You're crushing their business.
These firms are very powerful.
This is the most that he's actually pushed
and there's
back.
15 of them. And these are firms that probably...
Thank you, Tenacious Ross.
You have to ask them. In fact, this is a separate story. You have to ask them, why did you all pay Trump hundreds of millions of dollars in services, etc.? Why did you do that? I don't know.
You don't think that...
We have a clause in the thing that, while we admit no wrongdoing, but, it's like one of those things. And now I'm friendly with those firms. But it's, these are the most powerful firms in the world. And they just signed whatever I put in front of them. I've never seen anything like it. I'm actually surprised myself in a certain way. But they obviously felt they probably did something wrong. I guess that's why they signed.
I guess the question out of that is the concern that people have. Are you using your powers as president to get personal revenge?
No, I'll tell you what you're really not asking, and you should be asking. There has never been a president in this country, in the history, that was persecuted like I was persecuted by really crooked people, dishonest, horrible people, and it's been proven. So when you say I'm treating people rough, I'm not treating people rough. I was treated worse than any president in the history of our country. And people figured, well, maybe that's it. Finally, we got, he's leaving town. There goes the helicopter. And then I came back. And I came back because I have tremendous support. When you win an election like I won it, and you will admit I won all 7 swing states. I won the popular vote. I won 2,750 districts compared to 500 districts. That's why the map is all red. And those people feel that I was treated unfairly.
But does that give you the right to go after your political opponents with the powers of this office?
I'm going after, all I'm doing, hey, Biden did something to me, and I did something to Biden. And you know why I did it? Because he's grossly incompetent. That's not a man that should be allowed to, be looking at things that are very confidential.
But what about,
because he didn't,
71 people.
Here's a man that used an auto pen to sign very important documents. Now, who really is, do you think he knew that they were using an auto pen? I mean, he used an auto pen to sign very, very important documents. And so those are really the questions you should be asking. What do you think of the auto pen? Who wielded the auto pen? Because whoever that person was, think of it, whoever the person that wielded the auto pen, he was really the president of the United States. Because I don't think that Biden knew anything about it.
Fair enough. But you are the president now, and I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
No. People that I think are dishonest. It's not that I don't even know most of them. They're people that I think are dishonest.
These people made you angry.
No, it's not anger. These are people that I think are very dishonest. I don't think they're worthy of being able to
Have
go
a good
into
one,
top secret
Swamp Frog
information.
person.
I think that's fine. And Biden did that with many of our people. But when you look at it, these are people that I don't think are worthy. That's my decision. It's not a question of anger.
Okay. I understand you just had a phone call with the new Canadian premier, and they just had this election.
Yeah.
You were a big issue in it, and Canadians, many of them, are really angry, furious about your talk about we're going to take over Canada, it's going to become the 51st state. And it kind of is of a piece. A lot of travel is down into the United States from around the world. It feels like there's been reputational
The
damage.
country's doing great.
Well,
prices are down.
Not the tourism.
Gasoline's down. Energy's down. Tourism is going to be way up. Wait till you see the numbers. The tourism is way up.
Not now.
Now Canada, tourism's doing very well. We're doing very well.
Not
We're doing very well. Wait till you see the real numbers come out in 6 months from now. Wait till you see the numbers.
But do you think
that's fucking funny?
If I may, do you think the
like tourism, he let that shit slip out too.
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were left out.
Tourism's
all
up.
over the world.
He wanted to say that shit under his breath. He was
couldn't
like,
walk up a flight of stairs,
"No, not with your fucking
couldn't
dumb
walk
ass in
across the
office."
stage without falling.
Oh, that's good.
We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst. I have to be honest with you.
Thank you for the opinion, but more importantly, thank you for having us here. I have one more question. It's a big one. It's a question that you know a lot of people have out there. What do you say to people who are concerned you are seizing too much power and becoming an authoritarian president like we haven't had before?
No, I would hate them to think that. I'm doing one thing. I'm making America great again. We have a country that was failing. We have a country that was laughed at all over the world. We had a leader that was grossly incompetent. He should have never been there. The election was rigged. He should have never been there. Our country suffered greatly, and now our country's coming back like nobody can believe. I have editorials just today where they're saying they've never seen anything like it. They love it. Our country's coming back, and we're respected again.
Mr. President, thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
So,
Terry, very much.
Once again, we want
nothing to like dissuade that at all. He basically said like, no, I'm not an authoritarian. People fucking love us. Oh. Yeah, thanks, dude. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it here, dude. Yeah, fucking dialogue tree response straight up. I get that I get that there's a level of tact you have to take, and I think Trump is probably unique in that he requires more finagling and more finessing, for lack of a better term, for people who don't ape traits. Can I sing? Yeah, I can sing. I used to be a singer. I used to sing in bands. I also did choir in high school. Like there is a level of acquiescence to power that I understand a big ass, non-biased media company like ABC has to do. That being said, I think there is very obviously a lot of shit that they just let fucking slide. And part of that was probably like, okay, they probably had only an hour. Like I'm willing to bet that's what happened. They only had like a certain amount of time. Which is frustrating. That's them's the breaks when interviewing a president or a major figure like that. But goddamn, dude, that is fucking rough. You know, seeing the stuff about the MS-13 tattoo, that's going to be the one that people need to come back to. Like, that's going to be the one that tomorrow is going to be going around Twitter and Blue Sky, and is going to be like, people are going to be talking about, like, hey, Trump did this. Trump thought that this was real. And it's going to be embarrassing, but I don't think that shit should be allowed to slide. Like, that's the kind of shit you need to start bringing up to your family members at dinner, your Trump voting family members who are like standing by and say, oh no, he's smart. Oh, he knows how to run things like a business. Oh no, he knows exactly what he's doing. Like, you need to make it clear that this is the lack of understanding he has and how he is using it to justify suspending due process, to justify ruining people's lives, to justify discriminating against people. Like, it's one thing to look at him and you know, like, Trump has had no shortage of absolute dumbass outbursts and dumbass things he's fucking said. Like, we know this. But it's important to not, because I think people get too caught up in the idea of letting the shit slide, letting it just kind of go. When there are moments that show, like this, how this kind of evil, how this kind of inhumanity that's being perpetrated right now thrives on ignorance and stupidity. And more people need to realize that. Cursed Citrus, thank you very much for subscribing. Simric, thank you for $5. Remember Biden's cognitive decline and how everyone freaked out about it, but Trump, who's clearly worse, and they stay silent. I mean, like, look, Trump is not worse yet. Like, people, you go watch the fucking Biden-Trump debate. Trump is not worse yet. But he is getting there. I do genuinely believe that he is getting there, and I think that, like, part of his kind of broad resignation, or just the feeling that he's resigned from, you know, his investment in this stuff and his understanding, certainly, like, it does not occur to me that he actually, which shouldn't be surprising, but it does not occur to me that he actually understands the nuances of things like, I mean, he certainly doesn't understand trade deficits and how, like, oh, we were losing money. It's like, no, that's a trade deficit, which is like the difference between what we pay for something coming into the country versus what we're exporting. Like, it's because America doesn't have a lot of exports to places like China. Uncle Otis, hello, I've never seen your stuff before. Briana Wu, it was really good. Great job. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think Trump is worse. The weave makes him seem smarter than he actually is. The weave? The weave? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? You said the weave? Because now I'm picturing Trump with a weave. And I gotta tell you, I don't like the image. I'm gonna be honest. Not a fan. The way he talks. Okay. Oh no, you don't. The weave. Okay. Trump wears weaves. Oh God, somebody. I was gonna say somebody. Photoshop that for me, but no, I don't. That's really not necessary, I think, girl. Blown out lace front. Trump with the fucking Jerry curl. God. Oh, we like to have fun here. We like to have fun. Oh my god. Now I'm just thinking about Trump with a Jerry curl, and that shit is. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Hello, dog. Hello. You can probably hear my dog going, snorting like a little pig, like a little piggy. Are you a little piggy? Ow. Oh, Trump didn't, Saint Guillotine, Trump didn't refer to it as a weave. Somebody else referred to the way he spoke as a weave. But I immediately thought of Trump with a weave. which somehow got to Trump with a Jerry curl. Which is fucking so funny. That was fucking funny. Alright, chat. I do want to talk about... You think Trump would make more sense if he took a shit ton of Adderall? No. I don't think his problem is focus necessarily. I think his problem is age and ignorance mixed with just I think he is in a perpetual state of ego at this point. Like I think the way he has navigated life for so long has been based entirely on what he feels he's owed by everybody around him. Cornrow Trump. Oh my god. Deadnaming has been thinking about getting their hair done. Oh wow. Actually, I've been thinking about growing it out more. Except it's summer almost, and that will be very hot, and I'm not super into it. If I'm being honest. I always thought Trump was kind of yipped up to begin with on some Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon. Oh, that's crazy. Full on fair hair. Oh, not Farrah. Don't do Farrah like that. Oh no, for me, not Trump. I could probably do fair hair. My hair gets like, and you'll probably notice, like if I don't have to do a whole lot for it to like really, because my hair has always had natural a lot of body, and yeah, like right now it's kind of tamped down because I've been wearing my headphones kind of all day because of stuff. Dread domain when? Never. I would fucking go bald. If gun to my head, if you were like, get dreadlocks or go bald, I'm shaving that shit. Sorry. Dreads ain't for me. There ain't a single part of my lineage that comes remotely close to justifying dreads. Nah, not for me. So I do want to talk about a couple things. We'll talk about two things. Because I think these are important to tackle as a pod, and then I'll save the other stuff for probably streaming Friday. Don't again forget that we are today is the last day of my YouTube ad revenue for the month, so like please feel free to give if you feel so inclined. I really appreciate it. If you want, by the way, to help me in a more direct way, giving at the Ko-Fi link down below is the best way. And I do need oh god, I feel like a dipshit, but so I use Uber to kind of travel everywhere. Uber or the bus system, but a lot of the time it's Uber because I don't want to like wait or have an appointment. And I did not realize it was charging my credit account. And so my credit is maxed out right now. So, if you would like to help bring that down before I get paid next month, every little bit helps. But obviously, I will be fine. I will be fine. I am not impoverished by any stretch. There are people out there who need money more, but I do appreciate the help. So, am I saying I'm going to get myself some Jerry curls? No. Nah. Nar. God, I would look... You know... No. Yeah, No. It's not. That's not happening. Get a good bicycle? I mean, I have a skateboard. I skateboard everywhere. Like, if I'm going somewhere in my kind of vicinity, I walk, I run, I skateboard. It's like places that I would not want to bike. Comrade Girl 2018, is the UK worse than the US when it comes to trans people? So here's the thing, is that the reason I wanted to kind of talk about the NHS and this Telegraph article that I have archived is that I think the kind of anti-trans contingents of the UK and the US have created this kind of feedback loop where one will, the UK will do the cast review and TERFs or we don't really have as many TERFs or gender criticals driving the truck as much as they do over in the UK. We more have people who are people like Matt Walsh, people like PragerU who are more invested in this like tiny little pocket industry of transphobia. But they will use things like the consensuses driven by the cast review, for example, to justify their the legislation that they're trying to get passed through. Justify bathroom bans, sports bans, bans on transness, bans on gender nonconformity, shit like that. So this is from the Telegraph a couple days ago, 3 days ago. NHS to test all trans, quote-unquote, trans children for autism. Every child referred to a gender clinic will be screened under new guidance following CAS review. So this is in Britain. And this follows almost in lockstep with Abigail Schreier's. One of her big assumptions is that, or one of the big conclusions, and you see this a lot in online TERF spaces where, again, they don't interact with real queer spaces, they don't interact with real people, they just kind of like go by what they see on Twitter, where they just say like, oh, for example, trans mask like teenagers they're just poor little autistic girls who are being taken advantage of by doctors, I guess. And that's where a lot of this rhetoric comes from. It is these kind of like broad social observations. And I want to talk about this because we talked about last week, or I think at the beginning of the week, about how RFK Jr. is looking to start putting together essentially registries for autistic people. And I don't think those two are isolated. In fact, I think that those two are going to come together at some point. One of the things I said, I believe I said it on, did I say it on Monday? I think I predicted this on Monday, actually, where I talked about how like these ideas are going to be used to target or at least question the veracity of like the authenticity of people being trans, people being non-binary, people being just gender non-conforming. The thing is that there is a correlation between neurodivergency, and this is neurodivergency of all stripes, not just autism, But just being neurodivergent, being ADD, being ADHD, being, whatever stripe you fall under, there is a correlation between that and gender nonconformity. It is not a causation, obviously. The problem is that this is such a slippery slope into defining transness as, again, it's this weird wraparound way of trying to redefine being queer, being trans, and make no mistake, definitions around being trans are just gateways to definitions of being queer, of being gay, of being lesbian or bisexual, as being deviant, as being less than hetero. And so what we're seeing here is, and I would love to be fucking proven wrong about this. In my estimation, we are seeing the beginnings of an effort to reclassify things like transness as a mental disorder that can and should be ignored by the wider population, or at the very least should be disparaged, should be looked down upon as somebody lesser than, as something on par with, a lot of people like Matt Walsh would probably put them on par with, just to pull a phrase out of nowhere, like a useless eater, mayhaps. Somebody who isn't useful to broader society, they might say. From the 27th, the NHS will test all children who believe they are trans. God, the way this is written is so fucking passive aggressive. The NHS will test all children who believe they are transgender for autism under new plans. Every child referred to a gender clinic will be, quote, screened for neurodevelopmental conditions such as autism and ADHD, under new guidance to be introduced in the wake of the CAS review. The review found that the mental health conditions were disproportionately common among children and young people with gender dysphoria. Medics will also evaluate each child's mental health, their relationship with their family, and their sexual development, including whether they are experiencing same-sex attraction. So, goddamn, what we're gonna get is people being denied gender care because they're like, oh, you're not gay enough. You're sexually attracted to women. You can't be a trans woman. You can't be a trans lesbian. Obviously, because we're using outdated, dumbass bullshit AGP science, like Briana Wu. Speaking of today, you obviously can't be really trans. However, some groups have criticized a serious flaw in the policy as it leaves an open door to the use of cross-sex hormones. They also condemned its absence of recognition of the wider societal issues to which children are exposed. The multidisciplinary team of experts, including a consultant specializing in neurodevelopmental disorders, would create a treatment plan for each individual depending on their diagnosis. If screening identifies the presence of neurodevelopmental conditions, including autism spectrum disorder, a referral should be considered to the Pediatric Neurodevelopmental Service or Pediatric ASD Service. In such cases, the team of doctors will have to determine if the child's symptoms are caused by autism or whether they need separate treatment for gender dysphoria. Are you transgender autistic or transgender not autistic? Do you have the transgender? Are you transgender? Is that what they're finding? They're trying to find out if people are transgender? Ableism and transphobia combo wombo. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. Patients at the new service will also undergo a thorough mental health assessment because of the, quote, higher rates of mental health difficulties among gender-questioning children. The NHS guidance described a previous reluctance to explore or address mental health conditions because gender dysphoria was not classified as one, but said that identifying and treating any mental illness should be an integrated part of their care. So that is true, but the problem is the way that they're going about this, at least from this outline, is not going to be helpful. It is going to be exclusionary. It is going to be used as justification, very likely, to exclude people from necessary healthcare. Which is where we come to the White House yesterday. Report to the president on protecting children from surgical and chemical mutilation executive summary. Restoring scientific integrity. On January 28th, 2025, Trump signed executive order, blah, 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 protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation. It prohibits federal departments from funding, sponsoring, assisting, or facilitating the chemical and surgical mutilation of minors and directs them to stop these immoral, unjust, and disproven practices more broadly to the greatest extent possible. It's so plain how much of these updates and shit are driven by like pure ideologues who have no actual basis in like law or understanding of legalese, because they will use terms like mutilation to be as scary as possible, even though we know this is not actually happening. Restoring scientific integrity. So these are the initial steps taken to implement this order. Directs agencies to rescind or amend all policies that rely on standards of care developed by WPATH. These standards were not drafted based on scientific evidence. They were. But political considerations. During the drafting process, Admiral Levine lobbied WPATH to drop its proposed age limits. Levine then issued federal guidance which promoted the chemical sterilization and surgical mutilation of minors. That is not how that happened or worked. Promoting accurate information. So here's the real, and I want you, we just got done watching Trump proudly tout how fucking wrong he was about the MS-13 finger tattoos, and literally say to a ABC reporter, why can't you just go along with what I'm saying? Why can't you just accept what I'm saying? So I want you to take the idea of the president promoting accurate information with the biggest caveat possible. Like with the biggest consideration for that shit. Yeah, they're talking about Rachel Levine. Did they didn't deadname her, did they? Admiral Levine, no, they just did. Directs HHS to use, quote, all available methods to increase data quality to improve practices for improving the health of minors with gender dysphoria. What do you want to bet that's going to get in the HHS? Is going to get tied up with RFK Jr.'s bullshit about autism. Is going to get tied up with the same shit that we just saw is going to be implemented under the Cass review in the UK. What do you want to bet that the improvement of practices for minors with gender dysphoria is actually going to be like conversion therapy? The lead researcher of one notable study funded by the NIH withheld its results from the public for political reasons. The citation fucking needed. The NIH has taken and will continue to take all necessary and proper steps to ensure accountability and transparency. Federal data collection reflects biological reality and provides medically useful information. To who? To who? To who? To whomst is my question. Stopping taxpayer-funded child experimentation. There's no child experimentation. These terminations save taxpayers approximately $477 million. Two examples include a $1 million grant, $13 million, well, $1,300,000 grant to the Center for Innovative Public Health Research to adapt an LGBT plus inclusive teen pregnancy program for pregnancy prevention program for transgender boys. Okay, so more kids. Yay, Republicans always wanting more kids to get pregnant. And a almost $6 million grant to Boston Children's Hospital for Trans Health Guide, Transforming Health for Gender Diverse Young Adults Using Intervention to Drive Equity. Great. Ensuring proper medical treatment. Directs HHS to take all appropriate actions to end the chemical blah, blah, blah. protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation, which alerted providers to the which alerted the people who study these things for a living, who know these patients, who have worked with their patients, who are working to help kids with gender dysphoria, working to help people with gender dysphoria. It alerted them to the risks that we think that, oh, they should know about. Dangers of chemical mutilation as well as a lack of medical evidence. What the fuck is chemical mutilation? I understand that these people just don't know what words mean, but words do mean things. Chemical mutilation, they're mixing the two. They're mixing chemical castration and genital mutilation into chemical mutilation. Which isn't like, that's not, yo, people who take estrogen, let me fucking like back me up here. It's not exactly mutilating. The letter stated that it is of utmost importance that all providers follow the highest standards of care and adhere closely to foundational principles of medicine. Blah, blah, blah. Ensuring equal protection and rule of law. Prioritizing protection against female genital mutilation, and will convene state attorneys general to coordinate enforcement. Initiate investigations of multiple entities that have misled the public about the long-term side effects of chemical and surgical mutilation under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. DOJ has drafted and submitted legislation creating a private right of action with a long statute of limitations for children whose bodies have been chemically and surgically damaged and their parents for additional review. Establish a parental rights task force to vindicate the rights of parents in states like California. Oh, that's so fucking funny. Where parental refusal of consent can enable the state to remove children from parental custody. That's not, we've talked about that. That's not how that works. That's actually, God, that's fucking crazy that's in my stream, or in the video I did now almost 2 fucking years ago. The hate church, the infiltrating the hate church video. We talked about that shit because that was the same dumbass bullshit that those fucking dum-dums were speaking about from the pulpit. God, that's fucking nuts. Yeah, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is maybe going to be one of the most ruinous aspects of the Trump admin. I would love to be fucking wrong about that. But you have somebody who's going to be acting with so much impunity, calling shots that are going to be so fucking horrendous. Yeah, he's got tough competition too. Ain't that the fucking truth? Alrighty, chat. It is time. It is that time of night. Let's do... I see somebody who I haven't seen stream in a fucking long-ass time. So we are going to go. Allison Casting Guay, thank you for subscribing. Pain Xpill, thank you for subbing with Prime. Everybody, please, please, please go watch the Briana Wu video. I am going to go have a little celebratory... I think I'm going to go to a nearby cocktail bar. They have a good little smoked pear whiskey thing. Sounds good. I feel really good about the Briana Wu piece. I would appreciate it if everybody could go support, like, subscribe, do all the things, share that video far and wide, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night.